Hi everyone. Before we start the finale, I want to apologize for the audio issues in the previous upload. I've fixed the voiceover to ensure you have the best experience for the end of this series. Thank you for your feedback and for your patience. Let's get into the story. In this house, I'm the only outsider, living off their charity. If I make Shen Heng dislike me even more, what will I do if I get kicked out? She knew that in these chaotic times, being able to enjoy such living conditions was practically a dream. Aside from having to endure all sorts of sounds from upstairs every night, in every other respect, her life was even better than before the apocalypse. Besides, hearing those sounds from upstairs wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Shen Heng, save me. Save me. Seeing Ning Xiao silently retreat behind the curtains, Feng Lu grew desperate. She frantically looked at Shen Heng, writhing and trying to crawl toward him. But after just 2 steps, she spat out a mouthful of blood. A sharp pain shot through her abdomen. Feng Lu clutched her stomach and collapsed onto the snow, writhing in agony. Her mind went blank, with only one word floating through it. Shen Heng stood by the window, quietly watching Feng Lu thrash and scream on the snowy ground. He felt no joy from his revenge, but rather as if he had fulfilled a deep-seated obsession. All that remained was the tranquility that came after, along with a soft, relieved sigh. It's over. The masterminds who had killed him in his previous life were all dead. Su Chao was already motionless, his body beginning to freeze over. Feng Lu's frantic movements also gradually slowed, and her screams grew weaker. Finally, Feng Lu's head lolled to one side as she coughed up a mouthful of black blood. Her body went completely stiff. Her eyes were still wide open, staring at Shen Heng, as if trying to burn his image into her mind. It's over. Shen Heng sighed softly and drew the curtains. Boss, should I dispose of the 2 bodies in the yard? Lao Qin asked respectfully. Shen Heng didn't answer directly, instead asking, then why do you still keep the bodies of Bing Bing and CC outside your 3rd-floor window? I want to remind myself that the people closest to me in the future might betray me, boss. Lao Qin fell silent for a moment before answering. Having those 2 bodies outside my window reminds me every day that 2 women once tried to whisper poison in my ear. Shen Heng smiled and patted Lao Qin's shoulder. He had expected as much. Same here, Shen Heng said softly. Lao Qin was a bit surprised. Was the boss trying to warn the mistress in the room that this is the fate of a traitor, so she'd better not betray him in the future? He didn't know that Shen Heng was actually reminding himself. The grudges of his past and present lives were now settled. Next, it was time for him to embrace a new life. In his previous life, he had died in the living room of this villa. In this life, the adulterous pair, Su Chao and Feng Lu, who had torn each other apart, died together in the yard. Shen Heng didn't feel any discomfort. After all, he wouldn't be staying in this villa for much longer. There weren't many people left in the North City district. In 3 days, the entire district would likely be completely under his control, and the Song family would be dealt with within these next 3 days. By his calculations, when things in the North City district were settled, the greenery would also bear their ability fruits. The probability of a greenery bearing an ability fruit was extremely low, maybe 1 in 10,000. In his past life, the entire Taoyuan neighborhood didn't have many ability users. But now, Shen Heng had already obtained Chun Mingqing's ability fruit from his past life, the meteorologist's ability fruit, Su Chao's ability fruit, Li Fei's ability fruit, and Shen Heng's own ability fruit. With the massive number of greenery plants piled up in the villa, he had no idea how many ability fruits would grow. But at the very least, he was certain to have 5 or more in his hands, with about 30 other ability users remaining. In this life, Shen Heng had tasked Gui Yuping with focusing on acquiring all the greenery from the homes of past life ability users, trading supplies for the plants. Those people were more than happy with the deal. However, Shen Heng wasn't sure how many fruits would actually grow from those plants. After all, he didn't know where those people had gotten the ability fruits that awakened their powers in his past life. With at least 5 ability fruits, his nether fire could be upgraded by at least 1 level. At that point, who could possibly stand against a level 5 nether fire? But Shen Heng didn't dare to be careless. You can't walk by the river all the time without getting your shoes wet. With a reincarnator like Zhao Erbao awakening a space ability, it was hard to say if there were other chosen ones out there. It was best for him to quietly build his own strength. Moreover, He knew that when the ability fruits ripened, not only would people fight over them, but the killing among ability users would also become more brutal. Some said that an ability user's golden core could be stolen, but Shun Hung had never witnessed it. After all, powerful ability users always had an escape plan, even if they couldn't win a fight. In Zhao Erbao's case, Shun Hung had really wanted to test it, but Zhao Erbao was devoured by his own space and died. His body was torn to shreds, scattered everywhere, but there was no sign of a golden core. Shun Hung had analyzed it before. 9 times out of 10, Zhao Erbao's golden core had been swallowed by the monster inside that space. When Zhao Erbao died, that monster had suddenly turned, its arrogant aura directed at Shun Hung. Shun Hung had frozen, not daring to move a muscle. The only explanation was that the monster had swallowed the golden core. Otherwise, even if Zhao Erbao was blown to pieces, the golden core should have remained. Unfortunately, his vending machine could only purchase one ability fruit after its first upgrade. It seemed that after the ability fruits ripened, he would have to lead Lao Qin and the others on a hunt for ability users. Only by maintaining his unparalleled strength could he face any danger with ease. It was past midnight. Lao Qin quietly said his goodbyes and left. Only Shun Hung and the group of women remained in the room. "Honey, you should rest." Huomyo turned and said gently to Shun Hung, I'll go to bed first." Lin Lu blushed, turned, and quickly walked into a room on the first floor. The first floor had a total of 3 rooms. Ning Xiao and Yang Mushuan each had one, leaving one empty. Shun Hung didn't press the issue and nodded slightly. Lin Lu had said that on the day the Song family fell, she would naturally serve him. There was no rush. In the villa next door, Lao Qin had also settled in. He pinned Fu Xiaozhu down, kissed her on the face, then got up to drink some water. But the next second, his expression changed. He threw on his clothes and cautiously headed for the 3rd floor. As soon as he got to the window, he saw Shun Hung already standing outside with a grave expression. His eyes were fixed on his own garden. Lao Qin heard a faint crunching sound and silently moved to Shun Heng's side, following his gaze. Lao Qin's face also turned serious. In the boss's yard, where the bodies of Feng Lu and Su Chao had been, Feng Lu's body was now gone without a trace. And there was a figure, its back to them, hunched over Su Chao's body, frantically biting and devouring it. A cannibal? Lao Qin's eyes widened in utter shock. Then, as if remembering something, he quickly turned to look toward his own 3rd floor. Where the ice statues of the 2 starlets, Bing Bing and CC, had been, there was now nothing. The 2 women, just like Feng Lu, had completely vanished. Where did Bing Bing and CC go? A sense of panic gripped Lao Qin. As a physique-type ability user, he didn't have any other special abilities, but his speed and strength far surpassed ordinary people. Correspondingly, his hearing and vision were also superior to other special-type ability users. Yet, just now, inside his villa, he hadn't detected anything unusual at all. It wasn't until he heard a faint noise from outside that he rushed out. This was only because the boss had warned him that Chun Joe might rise from the dead tonight, so he had remained on high alert. That was the only reason he barely noticed anything. Shin Heng's expression was also incredibly grim. Although Huomyo had a perception ability, he couldn't possibly ask her to keep it active at all times. From the 3rd floor, Huomyo silently climbed to the highest point. She glanced down and saw Chun Joe gnawing on the corpse in the yard. Are these scientists from the Heaven and Earth Society really that formidable? Where did the bodies of Feng Lu and the others go? This living corpse, Chun Joe, was able to move the bodies away without a sound. He didn't notice until it started gnawing on Su Chao. He quickly took out his phone and opened the surveillance camera feed for the villa's perimeter. On the surveillance footage, he saw it. 2 minutes ago, Chun Joe had crawled here on all 4s, sniffing as he went, his face a mask of ferocity. And riding on Chun Joe's back was a figure in a black cloak. The black cloak covered the figure's entire head, making it impossible for Shun Hung to see their face at all. When they arrived in front of the villa, Lao Qin's villa that is, the black-cloaked figure saw Bing Bing and CC, and their eyes lit up with interest. They suddenly yanked hard on the chain around Chun Joe's neck. Chun Joe immediately stopped. The black-cloaked figure jumped down, walked over to Bing Bing and CC, and touched the 2 ice statues. Then, The two ice statues vanished without a trace. Next, the black-cloaked figure did the same, taking Feng Lu's body before silently departing. As for Chun Jiawei, he frantically pounced on Su Chao's body and began to tear into it, eating ravenously. God damn it, another space ability user? Shin Heng's face turned extremely ugly. Meanwhile, Chun Jiawei, who was on the ground, seemed to sense someone behind him. He suddenly tilted his head back to look. His entire head rotated a full 180 degrees, the joints in his neck letting out a series of crisp, cracking sounds. He clearly felt no pain, no discomfort or suffering at all. Instead, he faced Shin Heng and Lao Qin, his lips pulling back into a grin. His mouth was still smeared with blood, forming a savage and terrifying smile. "Boss, let me take him on." Lao Qin's eyes narrowed. He suddenly leaped down into the yard and charged toward Chun Jiawei. Shin Heng stood to the side, observing the fight. He wanted to see what made Chun Jiawei stronger than other physique-type ability users. Of course, if Lao Qin started losing, Shin Heng would immediately join the fray. More importantly, that black-cloaked figure had disappeared somewhere. He needed to be on guard against a sneak attack from them. Shin Heng picked up his cell phone and called Huomyo. On the nightstand, Huomyo's phone rang. She had been feeling completely relaxed. With those two dead, there was no longer anything standing between her and Shin Heng. But the sudden ringing of her cell phone, especially with the unique ringtone Huomyo had set exclusively for calls from Shin Heng, startled her. "Honey." Huomyo woke with a start. She turned her head and saw that the other four girls were still fast asleep, but Shin Heng was gone. She quickly threw on her pajamas, walked to the window, and closed her eyes. Her consciousness began to spread out. Within the full range of her consciousness, Shin Heng and Lao Qin appeared clearly, two familiar points of light. Huomyo immediately connected. The two men were already familiar with Huomyo's ability, so they opened their minds to the connection. After connecting, Huomyo's consciousness transmitted, "Honey, Lao Qin, is that Chen Jintian's son?" She had recognized that Lao Qin was fighting a corpse. The reason she called it a corpse was because she could only see Chun Jiawei, but she couldn't find any point of light on him. She couldn't even detect the gray light spot of a normal person. She relayed this discovery to Shin Heng, which made him breathe a sigh of relief. Before, he was worried that even if Huomyo activated her mental ability, she wouldn't be able to detect a zombie like Chun Jiawei. It seems her mental power is still incredibly strong. But the bodies of Feng Lu, Bing Bing, and Cici are nowhere to be found. A moment later, a look of shock crossed Huomyo's face. She could sense where their bodies were. Shin Heng pressed her for an answer. Huomyo closed her eyes for a moment, then shook her head. "I can only sense things within a 10-meter radius. Anything beyond that, I can't sense at all." Shin Heng frowned, his expression turning more serious than ever. "The most likely possibility is that Bing Bing, Cici, and Feng Lu were all taken into a spatial ability user's dimension, which is why Huomyo can't sense them. This group of scientists, they even have a spatial ability user? Are spatial abilities so worthless now?" What shocked him even more was that this Chun Jiawei didn't seem all that strong. After clashing with Old Qin, he was almost always on the receiving end. Though he looked ferocious, he was clearly just a mindless brute. All bark and no bite. Shin Heng quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Just then, Old Qin sent Chun Jiawei flying with a single punch. He crashed into the second-floor glass window with a tremendous bang. Chun Jiawei fell heavily to the ground, but he quickly scrambled back up and charged at Old Qin again. A punch like that from Old Qin would have been enough to kill a normal person. Yet, Chun Jiawei was completely unharmed. His clothes were in tatters, revealing a gaunt frame, but his movements were incredibly fluid, seemingly unaffected by the snow and ice that covered the world. No pain, no fear of the cold. Shin Heng thought to himself. Meanwhile, the girls sleeping in the bedroom were all jolted awake by the loud crash from the window. They hurriedly rubbed their eyes and got up. Chin Qin, while getting dressed, asked, "Hubby and Mio Mio, where did they go?" Chen Mingxing frowned. Chun Jiawei must be here. Chun Jiawei. The other girls had never seen him, but they had heard his name during the meeting tonight. Hubby said he's a zombie. They crowded around the window and peered out, spotting Shin Heng, standing in the courtyard while Old Qin was dominating and beating Chun Jiawei. They immediately felt relieved. One by one, They chattered as they went down to the first floor. From there, they could get a closer look. Hua Miao was standing by the first floor window. She turned to look at the girls and put a finger to her lips, shushing them. The others nodded in understanding. Since there was no danger, they dared to sneak a peek. If there were real danger, their first priority would be to protect themselves. Hua Miao paid them no more mind, turning back to look out the window. Her mental power continuously scanned the 10-meter radius. But in the next second, her expression suddenly changed. An urgent warning flashed through her mind. "Hubby, be careful." A faint gray dot of light appeared at the edge of her consciousness and shot straight toward Shen Hong. Thank you for listening to the audio story on our channel. This is a production of xalosach.com. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a truly fulfilling and meaningful listening experience. The very instant Hua Miao sent out her warning, Shen Hong sensed it. He spun around, his eyes fixed on a pitch-black corner. A dark figure emerged, clad in a black robe with its head completely covered, obscuring its features. It was the same figure from the surveillance footage. What Shen Hong didn't expect was that this figure had been riding Chun Jiawei before, but now, his mount was Feng Lu. Feng Lu. Shen Hong stared in disbelief. The woman who had died not long ago was now alive again, a dog collar around her neck, the leash held by the man in black. Her eyes glowed with a sinister blue light as she stared cruelly at Shen Hong. Upon realizing Shen Hong was looking at her, Feng Lu let out a guttural roar in his direction, as if she had completely turned into a dog. There was no doubt about it. This man in black was a scientist from the Heaven and Earth Society. He just never expected their corpse modification speed to be so fast. It had only been half an hour since he took Feng Lu's body, and she had already gone from a corpse to a human hound. Quite skilled, aren't you? The man in black let out a soft chuckle. His voice sounded very young, not the hoarse, raspy tone of an old professor or expert. He was probably only in his 30s. Friend, tell your companion to release my mount. We'll leave immediately, the man in black said politely to Shen Hong. My mount lost control today and ran off on its own. I needed to observe its behavior to ensure the validity of my experimental data, so I rode it this far. It got a little hungry passing through this area and ate a few of the corpses in your yard. I'm truly sorry. It wasn't just eating. You also secretly took 3 more bodies. Why didn't you mention that? Shen Hong pointed at the new mount beneath the man in black, Feng Lu. The specimen was quite exceptional. I couldn't resist for a moment, the man in black said with a laugh. Friend, they're just corpses. They're of no use to you. How about we become friends instead? He glanced warily at Shen Hong. Old Qin had Chun Jiawei tied up. Although he hadn't killed him yet, his defeat was only a matter of time. Moreover, every punch landed squarely. Chun Jiawei was a creation he had poured a lot of effort into. If it was destroyed, wouldn't he be heartbroken? More importantly, Shen Hong hadn't made a move yet. He had been observing from a distance. But the moment Shen Hong jumped down from the upper floor, he had stood not far away, showing no intention of joining the fight. He seemed even more formidable than the old man who was overwhelming Chun Jiawei. The man in black had very little confidence he could defeat both of them, even if he used his trump card. Therefore, if a peaceful negotiation was possible, it was better to try and resolve things amicably. The man in black wondered where these two had come from. How could they be so fierce? A normal person would have been scared out of their wits after seeing Chun Jiawei gnawing on a corpse. But these two were something else. One was relentlessly beating the zombie, while the other just stood there watching the show. Even though he had appeared without a sound just now, this young man was able to instantly turn and look right at his position. He was definitely not to be trifled with. Become friends. Shen Hong laughed. I'm not Luo Yonghao. Why the hell would I want to be friends with you? But for now, he couldn't determine how powerful his opponent was. A spatial ability user and a scientist from the Heaven and Earth Society. He might be even stronger than Zhao Erbao. He narrowed his eyes and said slowly, All right, I'll ask you a few questions. If you answer me honestly, you can take these corpses. Go ahead, the man in black nodded. But I can't answer any course secrets. You're from the Heaven and Earth Society? Shen Hong asked bluntly. The man in black was stunned. You know about the Heaven and Earth Society? That's right. I'm a human calamity-level scientist from the Jiangxing branch of the Heaven and Earth Society. The Jiangxing branch. So that means the Heaven and Earth Society that occupied the southern part of the city in his past life was just a branch? Then what did human calamity level scientist mean? However, seeing that the man in black had no intention of explaining further, Shun Hung understood. That was probably the core secret he couldn't answer. Shin Hung was still a bit unwilling to let it go. What does human calamity level mean? It's how the Heaven and Earth Society ranks its scientists. I'm at the human calamity level. And what's the higher level? A core secret. Sorry. Alright, I'll ask something else. How many scientists like you are in the Jiangqing branch? Are you all the type who control corpses? A core secret. Sorry. Then I'll change the subject again, Shun Hung said. A moment ago, you just pointed, and 3 corpses vanished without a trace. How did that happen? A secret. The man in black was about to say more when Shun Hung frowned and shouted angrily. Everything is a core secret? Then what the hell am I supposed to ask? If you don't want to talk, then let's fight. He didn't activate his ability, but shot out like a cannonball, throwing a punch at the man in black. As for his trump card, the strange fire, he would activate it at a critical moment. It might yield some interesting surprises. Damn it. The man in black never expected Shin Hung to attack just like that. Moreover, his movements were clearly more formidable than the old man's. He clamped his legs tightly around Feng Lu. Feng Lu let out a shriek and nimbly dodged to the side with all 4 limbs. And where he had just been standing, a deep crater had appeared in the snow. You break into my house to steal corpses. I don't give a damn if you're from the Heaven and Earth Society. Shin Hung shouted coldly. The man in black felt a headache coming on. He hurriedly waved his hands. Stop. Stop. I'll just answer your last question. Speak, Shin Hung nodded. Actually, it's mainly this. The man in black raised his hand, revealing a ring on the middle finger of his left hand. These are spatial rings. They're very difficult to mass produce. The space is extremely small. As a human calamity level scientist, I'm not qualified to possess one. After all, not even everyone at the Earth Tribulation level, a rank above me, has one. Ahem, I was awarded one by the headquarters for my contributions. The space inside is probably less than 3 square meters. Fitting 3 corpses in there was already quite a feat. Feeling he had said too much, the man in black shut his mouth and said, Friend, I've said quite a bit. Can you ask your friend to release my mount? I'll take it and leave immediately. So it's just a spatial ring. Although Shun Hung was quite impressed. These scientists were evil, but they were very capable, even managing to create legendary spatial rings, he thought. But if it's not a spatial ability, then I don't need to worry anymore. Shin Hung nodded slightly. His consciousness was already in Huo Miao's mental domain, quickly instructing Old Qin. Old Qin, stop playing around. Go all out. Kill this zombie. Yes, sir, Old Qin replied. His hand movements quickened by several degrees. Every punch landed with a sickening thud. With each blow, you could even hear the sound of Chun Jiue's bones shattering. Meanwhile, Shun Hung suddenly rushed towards the man in black. What are you doing? The man in black was scared out of his wits, clearly not expecting Shun Hung to attack him. He frantically rolled off Feng Lu and kicked her in the rear. Feng Lu bared her teeth and lunged at Shun Hung midair. Shun Hung sent Feng Lu flying with a kick, his fist still aimed straight at the man in black. Feng Lu let out a whimper in midair. After landing, she flipped over, bared her teeth, and lunged at Shun Hung a second time. Shin Hang's fist was getting closer and closer to the man in black. But at that moment, in front of the man, the snow suddenly exploded upwards, and a black shadow shot out from underneath. This newly emerged shadow was also wearing a black robe, but his robe was clearly much more exquisite. The hem of the black robe was even embroidered with purple patterns. Shun Hung wasn't the least bit surprised by the appearance of the purple-trimmed, black-robed man. His fist didn't stop, still crashing down. Are you kidding me? With Huo Miao constantly scanning with her mental power, how could he not have been detected? The moment the purple-trimmed, black-robed man appeared, Shun Hung had already discovered him. The purple-trimmed, black-robed man was also riding a zombie. This zombie powerfully blocked Shun Hang's blow. Elder Zhao, the man in black behind him said respectfully, overjoyed. You came at the right time. If it weren't for you, Elder Zhao, I'm afraid I would have been smashed to death by Shun Hang's punch just now. I heard you were coming to Tao Yuan Island, so I thought I'd visit home as well. The purple-robed man's voice was elegant, but tinged with regret. Then, his gaze shifted to Shun Hung. You can't do anything to us. We have no intention of making an enemy of you, sir. It's just a few corpses. We can trade supplies for them. Besides, your villa has so many beautiful women. You must need a lot of supplies, right? He suddenly stopped, staring intently at the window. He had also seen the crowd of beauties standing in the room. His eyes were glued to them. Shunhung naturally noticed his gaze and said coldly, "Everyone in the villa is my woman. You're not thinking I'd trade living people for supplies with you, are you? You're thinking way too far ahead. They're all your women." The purple-robed man was stunned. A second later, he roared, "Jiang Jiawang, bite him to death for me." The zombie he had been riding let out a furious roar and charged madly toward Shinhung. Shinhung was slightly taken aback. This purple-robed man wanted to negotiate peacefully just a moment ago, so why the sudden change in attitude? From the looks of it, he clearly wanted a fight to the death. However, just a single zombie like this, and he wants to take my life? A contemptuous smile appeared on Shunheng's lips. With a wave of his hand, several streams of eerie blue flames materialized in front of him. Ziwei Heavenly Fire. The moment the strange fire appeared, the zombie named Jiang Jiawang seemed to have met its ultimate counter. It recoiled in fear. The purple-robed man's face turned ugly. He pointed at the window and cursed angrily. "Ning Xiao, you bitch. I came all this way back to save you, and you go and throw yourself at another man. You shameless whore." Shinhung was startled. With a flick of his finger, a stream of fire shot out, knocking the hood off the purple-robed man's head and revealing his pale face. At this moment, however, his face was exceptionally ferocious and ugly. In the room, Ning Xiao, who had been standing by the window watching the fight outside, was instantly stunned when she saw the purple-robed man's appearance. Yongquan. Ning Xiao was completely frozen. She never imagined that Zhao Yongquan, the husband she thought had died, would appear alive and well before her. Ever since the torrential rain, she had been calling her husband. As time passed and the snow fell thick, Ning Xiao had gradually accepted this reality. Zhao Yongquan's research institute was completely empty. How could he have survived? As a doctor, she had witnessed many partings of life and death. With the apocalypse, the number of survivors had plummeted. Even if she didn't want to accept it, Ning Xiao slowly came to understand that her husband was dead. In fact, if it weren't for Shunheng's saintly heart, she might have already become his woman by now. Am I just going to be the family doctor forever? What is this? Back then, I was the second woman to enter the villa after Yang Jinxian. Now, the villa has added Chun Mengqing and Chen Qin, along with Song Yunsha and Lin Lu. Yet my status hasn't changed. A few times after that, Ning Xiao had mustered up all her courage. She wanted to go to Shunheng's room on the second floor to join the card game, but every time, she timidly retreated. Thank goodness I didn't take that step. She looked at her husband with joy, but in a flash, her expression froze. Why does my husband look so furious? Ning Xiao? Ning Xiao. Zhao Yongquan fixed his hateful gaze on Ning Xiao. He had gone home earlier and found his wife wasn't there. He had already anticipated this outcome. He thought his wife had died. He never expected that not only was she alive and well, but she was also in her pajamas in a villa, standing by the window. A group of women, like blooming flowers, stood proudly. The wife he thought was so proud was nothing special among them. Moreover, even if Shunheng hadn't said it, Zhao Yongquan was certain his wife had betrayed him. He had come to the villa complex for a gathering, but he had hidden underground, secretly observing the fight between Old Qin and Chun Jiawei below. His group of scientists from the Heaven and Earth Society were physically weak. Even though they knew Chun Jiawei was strong, they still wanted a more direct observation. It wasn't until his subordinate was in danger that Zhao Yongquan stepped in to stop it. In his eyes, the young man who had stolen his wife was even more dangerous than the old man who had fought Chun Jiawei. And indeed, it was so. Shunheng's skills were even sharper, and he even possessed a strange fire. The moment the strange fire was summoned, Zhao Yongquan knew he had lost. Not only was his subordinate captured, but he himself was in danger. The living dead, though devoid of human emotions, still possess a certain innate instinct for danger. The strange fire was a counter to evil things. Ning Xiao. Shenheng glanced back at Ning Xiao standing by the window and suddenly realized. This black-robed man with the purple trim is reacting so strongly. Could he be Ning Xiao's husband? Gee, She's your woman too? Zhao Yongquan's body trembled. Shen Heng didn't confirm it, just smiled faintly and asked back, "What do you think?" Zhao Yongquan was at a loss for words. Good, good. A moment later, he burst out laughing. I thought she was dead. I was even thinking that if I could find her body, I could resurrect her. Shen Heng was startled. After resurrecting her, she could stay with me forever. Zhao Yongquan laughed maniacally. I never thought she'd be such a cheap slut. I haven't been in touch with her for just a few days, and she's already staying in your villa. Ning Xiao grew anxious in the room. She saw her husband's twisted and ferocious face, a side of him she had never seen before. She hurriedly threw on a thick set of clothes, wanting to open the door, but was stopped by the other women. What are you doing? Let me out, Ning Xiao said anxiously. Jinxian, let me go? That's my husband. I know. Young Jinxian nodded, then pulled the window open a crack. You can talk to him from here, but don't drag us down with you. What if you expose everything? Ning Xiao was stunned. Zhao Yongquan is a member of the Heaven and Earth Society, didn't you know? Yang Jinxian questioned back. The Heaven and Earth Society? Ning Xiao's expression grew even more bewildered. She had never heard of this name before. Yang Jinxian shook her head. This organization is the one you heard Shen Heng mention during the meeting in the basement tonight. The scientists of the Heaven and Earth Society are extremely evil. They specialize in researching corpses. Ning Xiao and Yang Mushuan didn't attend because they weren't Shen Heng's women. If you open the door, what if there are other members of the Heaven and Earth Society around? Wouldn't that put us in danger? Yang Jinxian understood very well. No matter what, they couldn't let Shen Heng get distracted. He didn't even tell you this? Yang Jinxian gave a cold laugh and shook her head. It seems he's hidden a lot from you. Ning Xiao's mouth hung open, speechless. She had always thought that she and her husband were a perfectly matched couple who hid nothing from each other. In the eyes of others, she was a specially recruited PhD, while her husband was a young and charismatic chemist. A handsome man and a beautiful woman, a perfect match. Moreover, her husband was usually gentle and refined, without any bad habits. A man like that was truly perfect. But today, she had seen a different side of her husband. Added to that was the sound of the window opening, and Zhao Yongquan's voice seeped through the crack. Ning Xiao, you slut. Ning Xiao froze. You just said you wanted to resurrect Ning Xiao. Shen Heng's voice rang out. Ning Xiao's eyes widened. What do you mean by that? That's right. Zhao Yongquan glared angrily at Ning Xiao, then laughed again. That night of the heavy rain, I really couldn't come back. Besides, the higher-ups had discovered clues about the apocalypse. All of us in the Heaven and Earth Society gathered secretly. I had no time, and I couldn't contact her. But as long as she kept her body intact, I could resurrect her, make her like these people, and gain eternal life, forever by my side. As he spoke, he pointed towards Feng Lu, who was struggling on the ground like a rabid dog. Ning Xiao glanced at Feng Lu and couldn't help but shudder. Feng Lu's eyes were wide, a guttural growl rumbling in her throat, her hands clawing, fingers digging deep into the snow, with a bit of drool still at the corner of her mouth. To become a person like that, and then stay by his side? Ning Xiao's eyes were filled with horror. As long as she is implanted with my chip and injected with my drug, she can be with me forever. Following my commands, she will forever be my wife, Zhao Yongquan grinned. Immediately after, his face contorted with rage. Now, this bitch of a wife has betrayed me and become your woman. The apocalypse has only been here for 10 days. She just had to remain chaste for a little longer. And yet, she used to tell me that she wanted to be with me forever from the start of the apocalypse. You had already decided she was going to die, hadn't you? Shen Heng said coldly. Your original plan was to come to the Taoyuan district to take her body and then resurrect her. Zhao Yongquan, stop pretending to be so kind. Even when the world was normal, you were already a part of the Heaven and Earth Society. You accepted funding from Chun Jintian and have always been secretly conducting illegal research. In fact, if it weren't for the apocalypse, would you have so easily obtained countless bodies for experiments? I'm afraid you might have even experimented on living people. Zhao Yongquan's whole body trembled. That's nonsense. I haven't. Ning Xiao's eyelids drooped shut. This was her husband's habit. Once a sensitive spot in his heart was touched, he would react violently with a shrill voice, arguing loudly, his face pale, his jaw clenched tight. It seems that in Zhao Yongquan's eyes, I was always just an experimental subject who could die at any moment. How ridiculous. And I was always worried about my husband's death. Shun Hung crossed his arms, not even bothering to argue with Zhao Yongquan. Zhao Yongquan's face was ashen. He suddenly realized something and looked up at Ning Xiao. He saw that his wife had turned her back, not even sparing him another glance. Damn it! A flash of hatred appeared in Zhao Yongquan's eyes. A fierce wave of shame, like a tsunami, crashed over him. The wife he had always thought was so virtuous turned out to be this kind of woman. So quickly, for a better living environment and supplies, she betrayed me. His face was cold as ice as he looked up at Shun Hung, a fierce glint of jealousy in his eyes. This young man actually has so many beautiful women. Not only his wife, but the other 3 beauties from the apartment complex were also in the room. There were even several other beautiful women who were no less stunning than these 4 golden flowers. He was truly blessed. I'll fight you to the death. Zhao Yongquan suddenly roared, turning to the black-robed man standing nearby. Let's attack together. After we get back, I'll give you the resurrection drug and the necessary materials. Understood. The black-robed man, with a look of reverence, nodded fervently. A remote control appeared in his hand, and he pressed a button. Chun Jiawei, who had been struggling with old Qin, suddenly let out a roar and launched a more ferocious, desperate attack. Feng Lu also let out a piercing shriek. Her fingernails began to grow, and in a flash, they were over an inch long. Her sharp nails were like 10 small daggers. She suddenly lunged at Shun Hung. Zhao Yongquan, his face contorted, waved his hand. His previous mount, a 2-meter-tall, pale, and gaunt man named Jiang Zhuang, opened his bloody maw and charged straight at Shun Hung. Shun Heng's hands curved slightly upwards. 2 eerie flames appeared, one blazing red and the other a deep blue, burning ceaselessly on his hands. Go! Shun Hung thrust his hands forward, abruptly pushing the 2 strange flames out. One stream of strange fire was thrown straight at Feng Lu, while the other slammed directly into Jiang Zhuang. Feng Lu's eyes were filled with madness. The moment the flames struck her body, she let out a painful moan, but her sharp nails still dug relentlessly toward Shun Hung. As for the other deep blue flame, as it rushed towards Jiang Zhuang, he suddenly turned his head and viciously kicked the black-robed man into the flames. The black-robed man was caught off guard, completely unsuspecting that Zhao Yongquan's mount would do such a thing. He stared wide-eyed as his body touched the flames. As for Jiang Zhuang, he quickly turned, grabbed Zhao Yongquan, and burrowed into the snow. They had just dug a passage under the snow, and now they were bolting. Jiang Zhuang used all 4 limbs to flee desperately, his 4 claws continuously digging snow behind him, trying to block the tunnel as he ran. The deep blue flame pierced straight through the black-robed man. He was instantly killed. Feng Lu was also being burned by the Samadhi true fire, letting out piercing moans. Shun Hung took several steps back. He dodged Feng Lu's sharp claws, then shot out 2 more streams of fire. Feng Lu let out a tragic scream and was quickly reduced to black ash. At this moment, Old Qin also shattered the bones in Chun Jiawei's lower back with a single punch, causing him to lose his footing. Shun Hung summoned a flame. After burning Chun Jiawei to ashes, the surroundings fell silent. Zhao Yongquan had vanished. He runs fast. Shun Hung raised an eyebrow, his eyes narrowing slightly. Chun Jiawei wasn't very strong. He was just hard to kill. Old Qin, following his boss's instructions, had been probing Chun Jiawei's strength and speed all along. Moreover, his strange fire seemed to have a strong suppressive effect on these hard-to-kill beings. On the other hand, Feng Lu had surprised him a little, even though she had just been implanted with a chip, besides her combat awareness. She also showed signs of mutation. This was indeed something to be wary of. He walked over to the black-robed man. This man was now completely dead, his entire body reeking of burnt flesh. Shun Hung pulled the ring from the man's left finger. He observed it for a long time, but couldn't find anything unusual. This spatial ring, with a capacity of about 3 square meters, was quite convenient. Although it couldn't compare to his own mental space, for those without one, this ring was considered a divine artifact. Unfortunately, Shun Hung focused his consciousness on the ring, but it didn't react at all. He even tried the blood-binding method from novels, but it was useless. The entire ring was an ancient bronze color. The front was carved with a six-legged, four-winged bird. Its head was indistinct, with no ears, eyes, or nose. The divine bird spread its wings, and below it was a river and mountains. However, this river had a peculiar feature. The river was even carved in a three-dimensional shape, with clear grooves. In the river below, the indented grooves were particularly prominent. It seemed as if the river water had all turned into a pitch-black vortex. This thing is Dijiang. Shenheng first thought of this name. In the myths of the primordial era, Dijiang was one of the 12 ancestral witches, the ancestral witch who controlled space, transformed from the great god Pangu. This also corresponded to the spatial properties of this ring. Boss, I couldn't find him. At this moment, Rinjie appeared. He bowed his head, his face flushed with shame. From the moment Old Qin and Chun Jiawei started fighting, Rinjie had realized the situation. He glanced from a distance, then sent a message to Shenheng. Shenheng only told him to watch quietly and not to get close. Rinjie's strengths were in speed and lethal assassination. In terms of direct combat, he was no match for Old Qin. Rinjie understood this as well. When Zhang Zhuang quickly fled with Zhao Yongquan, Rinjie had quietly pursued them. However, Zhang Zhuang's speed in the snow was extremely fast. Moreover, while running quickly, the snow surface was completely undisturbed. Rinjie had no choice but to pursue by hiding under the snow, but even so, he still let the opponent escape. Rinjie's face was flushed as he bowed his head and admitted his mistake. It's fine. If he ran, he ran. Shenheng waved his hand, fiddling with the ring. Tonight wasn't a total loss. At the very least, we've learned a lot about the Heaven and Earth Society. Everyone head back. Shenheng ordered Rinjie and Old Qin, then returned to the villa. He really wasn't too concerned about it. Currently, he didn't know how many scientists from the Heaven and Earth Society were in this area or where they were. He only knew they were in the southern part of the city. From now on, they would have to face each other sooner or later. A single Zhao Yongquan couldn't cause much trouble. Now that Zhao Yongquan had tucked his tail between his legs and fled. In a few more days, I'll unify the East and North districts, and my abilities will reach a new level. By then, I'll only be stronger than I am now. As for the scientists of the Heaven and Earth Society, their research will still progress slowly. Meanwhile, the gap between me and them will only grow larger and larger. Although Shenheng was very strong, he still maintained a high degree of caution, like a sailor who has navigated for 10,000 years. If he could fully understand his opponent, he would be able to handle things more easily. Back in his room, the girls all crowded around, their eyes filled with concern as they looked at Shenheng. All right, I'm fine, Shenheng said with a smile. They were from the Heaven and Earth Society. One human calamity scientist is dead, and another Earth tribulation scientist, who is Ning Xiao's husband, Zhao Yongquan, has run away. You all go to bed first. I still have a few things to think about. The girls nodded obediently and went upstairs to sleep one by one. Lin Lu glanced at Shenheng with concern a few times before finally returning to her room. As for Yang Mushuan, she noticed that her brother-in-law didn't seem to be in the mood for playing cards tonight. She could finally get a good night's sleep, so she hurried back to her room. Only Ning Xiao remained standing in place, her expression hesitant and conflicted, as if she wanted to speak but didn't know what to say. What is it? Shenheng looked at Ning Xiao. Ning Xiao opened her mouth and finally spoke. Zhao Yongquan. He ran away. Yes. Shenheng nodded. Ning Xiao let out a sigh of relief, but then felt that it wasn't right. Ning Xiao pursed her lips again, bowing her head. I just heard you guys say, he's from the Heaven and Earth Society. Can you tell me what the Heaven and Earth Society is? The Heaven and Earth Society is an extremely evil organization. When Shenheng heard this name, his mood became incredibly heavy. He had originally thought that the scope of the Heaven and Earth Society's activities wouldn't be large, but he didn't expect the branch in the south of Jiangcheng to be just that. A branch. If a branch was already so powerful, what about the headquarters? Your husband can be considered to have reached the middle level of the Heaven and Earth Society. After all, he's at the Earth Tribulation level. Shenheng recounted the situation of the Heaven and Earth Society to Ning Xiao. There was nothing to hide about this matter. Besides, Ning Xiao was still Zhao Yongquan's wife. Perhaps Ning Xiao could even help. He wants to turn me into his puppet? After hearing Shun Heng's account, Ning Xiao's heart pounded. She never expected that the husband she usually shared a bed with, who appeared so gentle and elegant, was such a person behind her back. Moreover, this wasn't something she couldn't believe. After all, Zhao Yongquan had just said it directly. He had already confirmed that Ning Xiao was dead and had returned to find her body, then resurrect her and have her by his side forever. At first, Ning Xiao wanted to explain, to say that nothing had ever happened between her and Shin Heng. But when she heard Zhao Yongquan's words, she had completely fallen into a state of shock and despair. Think carefully. If you recall any of Zhao Yongquan's unusual behavior at home before, you can tell me. Shin Heng looked at Ning Xiao. Of course, you can also choose not to tell me. After all, Zhao Yongquan is your husband, and you have a saintly heart. How could you help an outsider like me? Ning Xiao bowed her head in response, then stood up and headed towards her room. I may be a bit of a saint, but I'm not stupid. Ning Xiao bit her lower lip tightly, her face full of pain. As she entered her room and locked it tight, Ning Xiao took a deep breath and slumped to the floor against the door. In another room, Shun Heng bought a high-end protective lamp from the vending machine, placed it on the coffee table, and then put the spatial ring under the light to observe it meticulously. The entire outline and material of the ring were quite special. Shin Heng felt as if he had seen it before, but he couldn't recall it at the moment. It was somewhat like bronze, but lighter than bronze. When he touched it, it felt ice cold. The ring was still engraved with exquisite patterns. He looked straight at the face of the ring again. It was still the six-legged, four-winged divine bird Dijiang, its features blurred. The river below was surging, and in the water, there was a black vortex. The vortex was deeply indented, carrying a sense of vague and dark profundity. Unfathomable. He rubbed the vortex, frowning. This vortex, why does it look a bit like a keyhole? Fortunately, he had been at the bank before, holding a universal key and opening countless safes. He had developed this instinct. Seeing any groove, he felt it was like a keyhole. It was no different from a rogue seeing some strange groove and wanting to stand up and test it. Carefully, he took out the universal key and gently touched the water vortex groove. The universal key immediately shrank, and finally, the head of the key turned into a corresponding concave shape and was gently inserted. The key stopped about half a centimeter in. It seems it really is a keyhole. Shun Heng's spirits were lifted, but then he discovered that the previously omnipotent universal key was no longer omnipotent. He turned it left and right, but the ring didn't react at all. So I guessed wrong. It's not a keyhole. Thinking about it, it made sense. Shin Heng laughed at himself. This is a spatial ring. How could it be open with a key? He fiddled with the ring, then threw the ring and the protective lamp into his mental space. The entire space was now a jumble of all sorts of items. Various firearms and hot weapons, as well as food reserves in the warehouse, food processing equipment, along with various clothes and items that Paris had bought for the girls upstairs. There were also medical supplies, seafood, and fruits. There were many things, all of which he had bought randomly back then to upgrade the vending machine. Especially the food items, all of which were prepared to be handed over to Guiyuping to sell later. With a sudden flash of thought from Shun Heng, all the items in the space were neatly arranged. The small, miscellaneous items were sorted by him into a separate area and stored carefully. After casually tossing the ring and the protective lamp to one side, Shun Heng suddenly froze. Among the pile of miscellaneous items, he unexpectedly discovered a key. The key had a strange shape, but it was unusually slender. Shun Heng suddenly remembered. This was the key to the last safe he had opened when he participated in the gambling session. The gambling session had ended perfectly, giving him a sense of smooth sailing. By the time he had finished cleaning up, at that moment, when Shun Heng opened the second safe, he saw it was labeled with Zhao Erbao's name, and inside was a pot of green plants. All his surprise was focused on Zhao Erbao, because he discovered that Zhao Erbao was also a reincarnator. As for the last safe, where this key was stored, Shun Heng only felt it was strange and didn't think too much about it. That last safe was labeled with Yang Mushuan's name. He hurriedly took out both the ring and the key, placing them in the palm of his hand. At this point, he could be completely certain. No wonder when he held the ring, He felt the material was a bit familiar, but he couldn't remember it at the time. It turned out that this key was made from the same type of material as the spatial ring he possessed. Shen Heng's eyes widened in shock. Then he put the spatial ring on his finger. Immediately after, he inserted the head of the key into the vortex on the body of the spatial ring. The opening was a perfect fit. This time, after the key was inserted, there was no need to turn it at all. Shen Heng heard an extremely faint click sound. Immediately after, he found that his consciousness could enter the space inside the ring. Just as the human calamity Blackrobe had said, the space inside this ring was very small, only about 3 square meters. Inside, besides 2 corpses preserved in ice that could be controlled by thought, there was a chip and a vial of medicine. Right next to the vial of medicine, there were also a few injection devices. Other than those things, he couldn't find anything else. These must be the things that the scientists of the Heaven and Earth Society had painstakingly researched and created. It's just that he had heard that these scientists were all focused on researching smart chips. So why was there medicine here? He had no idea that at this point in time, the Heaven and Earth Society had already split into 2 opposing factions. One faction advocated for continuing research on chips, aiming to enhance the computational capabilities of the chips and coordinate them with artificial intelligence, thereby achieving perfect control over the living or the dead. The other faction, however, believed that they should use various chemical drugs with stronger stimulating properties. Through the injection of various substances like Binghami or Fudunlure, they could resurrect dead bodies. In addition, by combining the essence blood from fierce beasts with specially formulated synthetic drugs, they could fully activate the animalistic instincts of the corpses, helping them possess terrifying abilities. The chip faction was primarily composed of top physicists, material scientists, and electronic engineering experts within the Heaven and Earth Society. The drug faction, on the other hand, consisted of chemists and pharmacists. Zhao Yongquan, as a top chemist, naturally advocated for using drugs to replace chips. Especially under the ice and snow of the apocalyptic era, countless corpses were scattered about, providing them with an abundant source of experimental materials for drugs, which had extremely high application value. As for chips, if they wanted to increase their performance even a little, the time required for research was not something that could be accomplished overnight. Meanwhile, the Heaven and Earth Society had finally waited for an explosive environment like the present. They absolutely could not waste this opportunity. The man in the black robe, the human calamity Blackrobe, was just a member at the lowest level. He was tasked by the higher-ups to both implant chips and conduct experiments. Chun Jiawei, after having a chip implanted in him, could almost be said to be impervious to pain. He had no sense of pain at all and was a perfect bodyguard. Just now, while Old Qin and Chun Jiawei were engaged in a fierce battle, the human calamity Blackrobe took the opportunity to take out the medicine and give Feng Lu an injection. It was clear that Feng Lu's combat power was even superior to Chun Jiawei's. However, Shen Heng at this moment was completely unconcerned with these pieces of information and details. What truly astonished him was why the key used to open this spatial ring was placed in a safe at the Silver Bank, under the name of Yang Mushuan, and even had her name clearly written on it. He put away the ring and key, then raised his head to look towards his little sister-in-law's room. His eyes became deep and thoughtful. It seems this little sister-in-law of mine has indeed hidden too many deep secrets. Shen Heng gently walked to the door of Yang Mushuan's room, quietly turned the handle to open it, and then silently closed it tight. Shen Heng was prepared for a strict interrogation of Yang Mushuan, determined to get to the bottom of everything. The devil knows whether Yang Mushuan is actually a member of the Heaven and Earth Society or just a pawn being used. If that's the case, wouldn't all my past actions be laid bare before the eyes of the Heaven and Earth Society? Even the confidential information about my own abilities, as well as those of Old Qin, Ren Jie, Hua Miao, and Chen Mengqing, might already be known to them. As he stepped into the bedroom, a small corridor led deeper inside, with the bathroom immediately to the right. The main bed was placed in a more secluded position, deep within the room. Shen Heng's movements were very light and skillful, so Yang Mushuan didn't hear any sound at all. Moreover, there was a sound coming from the bed, as if Yang Mushuan was scrolling through videos on her phone. Shen Heng tiptoed to the wall of the bathroom and cautiously peeked his head out towards the large bed. With just one glance, Shun Hung was rooted to the spot, completely stunned. From his position, he could clearly see Yang Muxuan lying on the bed. Unexpectedly, Yang Muxuan was completely naked at this moment, holding her phone in her hand. The phone was even emitting distinctive sounds. It was clearly a Japanese film that she was engrossed in watching. Shun Hung was speechless. In the dead of night, and sleepless Yang Muxuan was actually focused on watching this. It was truly an unbelievable sight. The night before, she had heard the noises from upstairs, and a sense of curiosity and itchiness had stirred in her heart. Recalling what Hua Miao had said before, and the reason she had brought her into this villa, Yang Muxuan couldn't help but feel her cheeks burn with shame. However, Yang Muxuan was naturally thin-skinned, so she was so shy that she didn't dare to say a word, only burying her face in the blanket. Just now, from the window, she had witnessed Shun Hung summon those cool-looking flames, directly slaughtering the members of the Heaven and Earth Society, and even the scene of Ning Xiao's husband turning tail and fleeing in a miserable state. Yang Muxuan's eyes sparkled like the stars with admiration. Back in her room, when the noisy commotion upstairs finally died down, she thought she could finally get a peaceful night's sleep, but she tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep due to her racing thoughts. She blushed, secretly opened her phone, and unconsciously opened the study materials that Ning Xiao had sent her, telling herself it was just to kill time. Shun Hung. She looked at the study materials and suddenly whispered Shun Hang's name in a daze. Shun Hang's eyes widened, his mouth agape. He was surprised to hear Yang Muxuan's call. He reflexively asked, "Huh? Is someone here?" Yang Muxuan was startled. The phone was thrown out, and she quickly sat up, hugging the blanket to herself. Her voice trembled. Who's there?" It's me." Shun Hang bent down to pick up the phone and walked to the bed. "Ah." Yang Muxuan's face was flushed as she stammered. You? Why are you in my room at this hour? I just heard you call my name. I was afraid something had happened to you, so I rushed over," Shun Hung explained seriously. But looking at Yang Muxuan's sexy collarbone and the scene just now, his little brother couldn't help but stir. "Was I that loud? How did you hear me?" Yang Muxuan shyly buried her head in her knees, feeling like she had no face left to see anyone. "You saw everything, didn't you? From the beginning?" Yang Muxuan whispered, her voice so small it was like the buzzing of a mosquito, almost inaudible. "Yes. I didn't expect you to be so useless. Don't talk nonsense." Yang Muxuan's face turned purple with shame and anger. Shun Hung fell silent. Only the phone he had just picked up was still noisily playing the video, breaking the silence of the night. Yang Muxuan snatched it, intending to turn off the video, but she accidentally touched it, causing the sound to suddenly become louder. "This voice is a bit fake," Shun Hung coughed. "It sounds a bit unnatural, but it's intentionally fake to achieve the desired effect. You seem to be very experienced in these matters, don't you?" Yang Muxuan glared at Shun Hung with suspicion. "What do you mean?" Shun Hung questioned back with a serious expression. Yang Muxuan fell silent. For the past few days, she hadn't had a single good night's sleep. After hesitating for a long time, Yang Muxuan asked softly, "Do you have something you need to talk to me about?" "What is this for?" Shun Hung took out the strangely shaped key and squinted at Yang Muxuan. Yang Muxuan was standing stunned right in front of him, completely clueless about what was happening. In his other hand, he had already taken out a modern lie detector. Once Yang Muxuan lied, he could immediately know the truth. "What is this?" Yang Muxuan's face was full of doubt as she looked at the unfamiliar key. At such a critical and tense moment, he had suddenly taken out a key, which completely surprised her. "You've never seen it before?" Shun Hung pressed. "No, I haven't," Yang Muxuan replied. Shun Hung glanced at the lie detector. It showed that what Yang Muxuan said was true. "So it's true," Shun Hung frowned and asked. "I found this in a safe at the Silver Bank. Your name was on the safe." "What?" Yang Muxuan was even more stunned. "I've never opened an account at any bank, let alone put things in a safe. Are you sure you're not mistaken?" "It's the absolute truth." Shun Hung became even more thoughtful. He was very sure that he hadn't misread the name. "But the material of this key is very special. It seems I've seen it somewhere before." Yang Muxuan curiously took the key from Shun Hang's hand. "Ah, that's right. I've seen it in our school's laboratory." "In the school's laboratory?" Shun Heng's spirits lifted. Tell me in detail. Yang Mushuan frowned in recollection. In the school's laboratory, when we were researching a new topic, the professor used this exact material. What new topic were you researching? Shin Heng pressed. The exploration and application of spatial physics in new spaces. Who is your professor? Zhang Xinqing. He's a high-tech talent brought in by Jiang Province. Yang Mushuan said, I'm just a new graduate student. I often participate in support roles. The core team is him and 2 PhDs. So this safe was intentionally deposited at the Silver Bank by Zhang Xinqing using Yang Mushuan's name. Shin Heng suddenly realized. Where are the professor and the 2 PhD.s? Shin Heng pressed. I don't know. Since the day of the heavy rain, after you picked me up from school, I haven't contacted them. Because I didn't want them to know I was here enjoying such a good environment. What if they wanted to come too? Wouldn't I be causing trouble for you? Shin Heng glanced at the lie detector. Yang Mushuan wasn't lying. It seems this safe has nothing to do with Mushuan. The 2 PhD.s led by Zhang Xinqing. One is named by Yubing, the other is Li Shun. They have been with him since Zhang Xinqing came to Jiangqing. And these materials also seem to have been brought by Zhang Xinqing, Yang Mushuan said softly. Zhang Xinqing bought a house near Jiang University, while the other 2 PhD.s live in the high-end talent dormitory of the school. Bai Yubing and Li Shun are both pursuing me. They see each other as love rivals. The materials you mentioned can definitely be found in their dormitory. It seems I need to make a trip to Jiang University. By the way, there are 2 people pursuing Yang Mu. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Shin Heng and Yang Mushuan were both startled. Someone's here. Who is it? Yang Mushuan's face was tense as she stammered. Mushuan, it's me. Ning Xiao's voice came from outside. I have a few things I want to talk to you about. Can you open the door? Ning Xiao. Yang Mushuan's face showed an unnatural expression. I'm already asleep. How about we talk tomorrow? In the middle of the night, if Ning Xiao saw Shun Heng in her room, what would she think? Ning Xiao and her sister were still best friends. Of course, it would be misunderstood. Just open the door first. I'll just sit for a bit and then leave, Ning Xiao said. My heart is in a mess right now. I want to find someone to talk to. Yang Mushuan's eyes darted around, finally pointing to the bathroom and whispering to Shun Heng. You go in first. Come out after she leaves. Shin Heng reluctantly nodded and walked towards the bathroom. Ning Xiao can't sleep in the middle of the night and comes over to talk about something? That's right. She has a saintly heart, but at least her medical skills are high, which can be considered a redeeming quality. Even though Ning Xiao had a saintly heart, Shin Heng still had to constantly remind himself to be wary of any feelings from women. But now, he hadn't done anything, and he had to hide in the bathroom. What is this all about? Shin Heng pulled a long face and walked into the bathroom, hiding behind the shower curtain. Should I kick her out of the villa? After Shin Heng had hidden everything away, Yang Mushuan went down to open the door. What's wrong, Sister Jiao? Yang Mushuan's voice was full of curiosity. I can't sleep alone. Ning Xiao sighed and slowly walked into the room. She and Yang Jinxian were best friends, and at the same time, she had known Yang Mushuan for a long time. Are you still upset about Zhao Yongquan's matter? Yang Mushuan asked, her eyes full of concern. Yeah. Ning Xiao slumped down on the side of the bed, her face full of bitterness. Although Zhao Yongquan and I have only known each other for a short time, I always thought we were a very loving couple. I never expected. She choked up, unable to say more. In her eyes, Zhao Yongquan had once been considered a flawless, perfect man. He had a stable job. He was a research scientist, handsome, and spoke with a free and humorous manner. Moreover, every month he would hand over his entire salary, didn't smoke, drink, gamble, or fish. If he wasn't working overtime, he would spend time shopping with her. Perhaps his only hobby was playing online games at home. After watching many videos about the bad habits of husbands that women on the internet often shared, Ning Xiao had always felt that she was very lucky to have met such a man. She just never expected that her husband was a member of the Heaven and Earth Society. Moreover, tonight he had shown her a completely different side of himself. The husband who was once gentle and refined in the past was now so angry that he had gone mad, becoming so ferocious and terrifying that he was unrecognizable. He could even control a living dead person. How could it be like this? Yang Mushuan sat beside her, gently comforting her. You and he haven't known each other for long, so you couldn't have fully understood his true nature. You're still young. You have a long future ahead of you. He's not the person you always imagined him to be, not the person in your memories. I heard from Sister Meow and the others that the Heaven and Earth Society is an extremely evil organization dedicated to researching all kinds of corpses with the intention of resurrecting them. In fact, didn't Zhao Yongquan still want you? Ning Xiao bowed her head, large teardrops splashing onto the ground. Don't cry anymore. Yang Mushuan stood up, poured Ning Xiao a glass of water, and handed it to her. Originally, she intended for Ning Xiao to leave quickly, because Shun Heng was still hiding in the bathroom. But now, seeing Ning Xiao like this, she couldn't bring herself to tell her to leave right away. Ning Xiao took a few sips of water and said softly through her sobs, I know. I heard it just now. Ever since that day of heavy rain, I've been worried about his safety. As time passed day by day, I also gradually accepted the reality that he was probably dead. But I never expected him to still be alive and kicking. Yet, just for his so-called scientific research, he never once called me. It turns out that in his heart, I was already a dead person. He came back not to visit me, but to find my body, to turn me into a living dead person, just like what he's researching. Ning Xiao couldn't speak anymore. She raised her glass of water, took 2 more sips, and then mocked herself. But when I saw Zhao Yongquan, I was shocked to realize that he was still alive. But living in that state is worse than being dead. Her heart was filled with immense fear, a fear that reached its peak. If I hadn't come to Shun Heng's villa, I might be dead by now. The world outside had completely descended into an apocalyptic scene, chaotic and terrifying. She understood very well that a beautiful woman in the apocalyptic era would have to face a cruel fate. My husband was clearly alive, but he didn't even call me once. She was just a weak little woman, alone guarding an empty house, burdened with endless fear. How could Zhao Yongquan bear to treat her like that? Even in the Tao Yuan district, many men had already started breaking down doors to rob, and even to seize women to satisfy their lust. Although Shun Heng was in charge, he mostly turned a blind eye to such matters, not paying much attention. His main strength at present was still focused on expanding his territory and recruiting underlings. As long as he could seize territory and gather enough brothers and subordinates, he would naturally have enough power and a voice. As for the trivial matters in the residential area, Shun Heng didn't pay them any mind. When he unifies the northern region in the future, he will manage it more strictly. That will be enough. Ning Xiao was still very grateful to Shun Heng for his help. If it weren't for Shun Heng, even if she had bought food and water, it would probably have been stolen by Li Fei in this villa. Every day, she only needed to cook and clean the house, and she could enjoy a high-quality living environment with peace of mind. More importantly, Shun Heng never forced or made things difficult for her. Don't think too much about it anymore. Yang Mushuan pulled Ning Xiao closer, comforting her. Shun Heng, hiding in the bathroom, had a look of helplessness and awkwardness on his face. Ning Xiao still hasn't left. It's been over 10 minutes. Are you two planning to talk all night? But just at this moment, he suddenly heard Ning Xiao mention his name. Mushuan, I really understand now why Jin Xian called me to Shun Heng's villa before. Ning Xiao said softly. I just can't get over the hurdle in my heart. I'm different from your sister. Song Guangming is dead, but Zhao Yongquan was only missing. His whereabouts were unknown. Even if I wanted to become Shun Heng's woman later, I still hoped to see Zhao Yongquan's body. But I entered the villa after you guys. I was the 4th woman in the villa, and now Shun Heng already has a 6th woman. Ning Xiao said helplessly, I don't know what I'm holding on to. No wonder Shun Heng says I'm a saintly bitch. He doesn't like it either. He probably likes you too, right? In Yang Mushuan's mind, the scene of seeing Shun Heng just now appeared. She herself had been seen through by Shun Heng, and she had even shown such embarrassment. Her face turned bright red. She reflexively said, Then why does he keep letting you stay in the villa? You mean he likes me? Ning Xiao's voice was full of joy. Hearing what Zhao Yongquan said, her heart had completely died. Moreover, he didn't even ask her a single question before opening his mouth with vulgar words, even calling her despicable. She had never thought that her husband would describe her with these words. Since you've brought things to this point, so what if I really become Shun Heng's woman? Thank you, Mushuan. Ning Xiao seemed to have a heavy burden lifted. She nodded vigorously. I understand now. What do you understand? Yang Muxuan was stunned. But when she saw Ning Xiao stand up to leave, Yang Muxuan breathed a sigh of relief. But in the next moment, she saw Ning Xiao walk to the door, turn around, and step into the bathroom. Sister Jiao, Yang Muxuan was startled and said in a panic, You, what are you doing? Shen Heng was still hiding in the bathroom. If he was discovered by Ning Xiao, even jumping into the Yellow River wouldn't wash him clean. How would her sister treat her? As for Shen Heng in the bathroom, when he heard Ning Xiao was about to leave, his heart suddenly sank. He was just about to step out when he heard the bathroom door swing open. He quickly shrank back behind the shower curtain. Ning Xiao had drunk a lot of water. She didn't notice Shen Heng undressing by the toilet. Hearing the sound of running water, Shen Heng was startled. He couldn't help but secretly lift the curtain and quietly look over. What a waste. Ning Xiao didn't notice Shen Heng. After hearing Yang Muxuan's call from outside the door, she reflexively turned her head and asked, What's wrong? I drank a lot of water just now, so I'm going to the bathroom. You go ahead. Yang Muxuan held her breath, not knowing what to say, and could only force out this sentence. This girl is so strange. Ning Xiao laughed and shook her head. She looked up at the mirror opposite, at her slightly haggard face, and sighed softly. Beside Shen Heng, beautiful women gathered in droves. I'm still burdened by the status of a wife. How am I worthy? Besides, in Shen Heng's heart, I'm still a saintly bitch. Actually, I already know I was wrong. I was too naive and innocent before, but now I truly understand the harmful nature of saintly thinking. These past few days, Ning Xiao has watched quite a few videos, especially after searching for saintly bitch, and saw countless attacks. She also re-examined her own thoughts, but it seems to have been in vain. Shen Heng, I will prove that I'm not what you think. I will absolutely not have a saintly heart. I will not pity others out of compassion and put myself in danger. Even if you are watching me, you must give me a chance. Immediately, she looked in the mirror and laughed. Am I really having an illusion? I actually see Shen Heng in this three-sided makeup mirror opposite me. Is it true that what you think about during the day, you dream about at night? Huh. She suddenly froze. Wait a minute. Shen Heng. From the left mirror of the three-sided makeup mirror, Ning Xiao saw it clearly. Shen Heng's face. In other words, he was on her right. Ning Xiao jumped in fright and spun around. At the same time, Shen Heng's figure instantly appeared, one hand clamping down on Ning Xiao's mouth. Shoo, don't make a sound. Shen Heng quickly raised his index finger to his lips towards Ning Xiao. Ning Xiao's beautiful eyes widened, filled with astonishment. She reflexively nodded. When Shen Heng released his hand, she asked in shock, why are you here? She never expected it to really be Shen Heng. But why was he in the bathroom of Yang Muxuan's bedroom? Could it be that he also got Muxuan? It seemed she had realized the shock in her heart. Shen Heng shook his head. What are you thinking? I was in the living room thinking about a few things and wanted to ask Muxuan. But before I could ask more than a few questions, you came knocking. To avoid misunderstanding, I hid in the bathroom. He didn't say that when he came in, Yang Muxuan was still enjoying the little movie Ning Xiao had sent her. So you hid here and spied on me? Aren't you afraid of being misunderstood? Ning Xiao's deep, autumn water-like eyes stared at Shen Heng. Tonight, she had seen Zhao Yongquan. The last bit of longing and regret for her husband had also vanished. Now that it was so hard to get some private space with Shen Heng, she naturally wouldn't miss this opportunity. If she didn't seize it now, she probably wouldn't even get to be the seventh. She had clearly come so early, yet she watched as others became Shen Heng's women. As for her, until now, besides the identity of a family doctor, she was probably just a servant. She didn't want to do this. She didn't dislike cooking and doing housework. On the contrary, she enjoyed keeping the house tidy and orderly. Seeing everyone eat the food she cooked and constantly praise it, she also showed a sincere sense of satisfaction. But she was also a woman with ambition. Especially after experiencing marriage, she understood the joy of being a woman even more. Her life after marrying Zhao Yongquan was not very harmonious. Every time was a perfunctory affair. Every night, hearing the sounds from upstairs, Ning Xiao felt extremely uncomfortable. If only I could be one of them. Shen Heng couldn't help but lower his head and glance at Ning Xiao's fair legs. You're still looking? Ning Xiao shot Shen Heng a glance, but she didn't shrink back. Instead, she blushed and turned her body completely towards him. Shen Heng's eyes widened. Sister Jiao, are you still not done? Yang Mushuan's voice came from outside. She was a little anxious. If so much time had passed and Shen Heng was discovered, it would be really hard to explain. Not yet. I suddenly have a bit of a stomachache. Ning Xiao tilted her head and said. Yang Mushuan stomped her foot anxiously but didn't know what else to say, so she had to nod in agreement. All right then. You heard everything I said to Mushuan just now, didn't you? Ning Xiao turned her head and asked softly. Shen Heng nodded obediently. So what do you think? Ning Xiao's voice dropped even lower. What do I think? Shen Heng was startled. Ning Xiao pouted, tilted her head, and suddenly pulled Shen Heng to the side, then hugged him tightly and kissed him on the lips. Shen Heng had just been watching Yang Mushuan, and now with a beauty like Ning Xiao in his arms, he couldn't hold back anymore. He laid her down on the floor and pulled her into a game of cards. Ning Xiao was afraid of being heard by Yang Mushuan and tried her best to cover her mouth. Sister Jiao, it's been 20 minutes. Are you still not done? Yang Mushuan sat restlessly on the bed, anxiously looking at the clock. She had no idea that the two people in the bathroom were currently engrossed in a card game. She was only worried that Shen Heng would be discovered. In the bathroom, Shen Heng had long since turned on the exhaust fan. The sound of the wind drowned out the sounds of the two of them, and Ning Xiao kept her mouth covered. Yang Mushuan didn't notice anything at all. She just felt that Ning Xiao was taking a long time in the bathroom. Isn't she afraid of getting hemorrhoids? Almost done. Shen Heng had never thought he would be playing cards with Ning Xiao in such an environment. After a few prompts from Yang Mushuan, the card game came to an end. Ning Xiao cleaned up the battlefield, then shot a glare at Shen Heng and opened the faucet to rinse her mouth. Shen Heng, satisfied, stealthily hid behind the shower curtain. Ning Xiao looked in the mirror and found nothing unusual, then glanced at the left makeup mirror. In the mirror, Shen Heng poked his head out from behind the shower curtain and gave her a satisfied nod. Jerk. Ning Xiao, her face radiant, walked out of the bathroom. Shen Heng quickly ducked his head to avoid being seen. Sister Jiao, you're finally done with the bathroom. Yang Mushuan stood in front of the bathroom door. Seeing Ning Xiao's calm expression, she breathed a sigh of relief. What's wrong? Is there something strange about the bathroom? Ning Xiao deliberately looked at Yang Mushuan with a questioning gaze. No, nothing. Yang Mushuan hurriedly waved her hand. Ning Xiao pouted. This little brat, making Shen Heng hide in the bathroom and not even giving me a heads up. However, she could be considered to have done a great service. From now on, I am also Shen Heng's woman. The match just now made her feel an unprecedented sensation. Her whole body was liberated, completely relaxed. Actually, just now she really wanted Shen Heng to stay in her room and continue playing cards. But seeing that it was already very late, and that Shen Heng had been busy with things for the past few days, could it be that she, having just become his woman, wouldn't care for him? Therefore, Ning Xiao obediently and understandingly took the initiative to return to her room. There would be time in the future. After Ning Xiao left, Shen Heng also quietly walked out of the bathroom. He asked Yang Mushuan about the dormitory of the two PhDs who were pursuing her, then went upstairs to rest. The next day, after Shen Heng woke up, he had the girls stay at home. This time, besides Huan Miao, he also brought Yang Jinxian and Lin Lu with him. With his current strength, even if there were other ability users, he could easily suppress them. Moreover, in the snowy terrain, he also had the super snowmobile produced by the system. As for Gao Xiong, he had already ensured the safety of the trade with Rinjia. 3 days after capturing the entire North City, the difficulty was not great, but the pressure was not small. A comprehensive arrangement was necessary, not only to stabilize the trade, but also to ensure that there were no saboteurs or competitors, and to continuously transport supplies from the Tao Yuan district to the major residential areas, as well as to recruit underlings. More importantly, they also had to buy green plants and ensure that the green plants were not broken by the heavy snow. Rin Jie personally followed Gui Yuping to protect him. Gui Yuping had already stabilized his position as a military strategist, responsible for arranging everything. Everyone was strictly following their own tasks. The trading was handed over to Bai Jie, along with a few of the original underlings who followed Gui Yuping. These people had all traded many times and were familiar with it for a long time. One was for convenience, and the other was to conveniently monitor Bai Jia. After all, Bai Jia had just surrendered and needed more observation time. The team protecting Bai Jia was handed over to Bin to manage. Bin's academic performance in high school was not ideal, but he had his methods. With him in charge, the elite team in the squad, which was originally led by Rin Jia, could naturally be trusted. Of course, the transportation could also be assured. It was handed over to a subordinate in the Taoyuan district. These were all people who had followed them from the beginning. Gui Yuping also highly approved. As for the purchase of green plants, it was Gui Yuping and Rin Jia who went to do it themselves. Old Qin stayed at home. Besides cultivating his relationship with Fu Xiaozhu, he also had to be vigilant and observe the surroundings to guard against people from the Heaven and Earth Society. Shen Heng led the three girls and went to the Song group together. Today, he would let Yang Jinxian and Lin Lu witness the demise of the Song family with their own eyes. Arriving at the foot of the Song group building again, Lin Lu and Yang Jinxian both felt a mix of emotions in their hearts. For Lin Lu, this day was like a dream. Yesterday, she was still running around like a rat, desperate in her heart. But today, Shen Heng had brought her to seek revenge. As for Yang Jinxian, her heart was even more complicated. In the past, she was the young mistress of the Song family and had been to the Song group more than once or twice. She never expected that today she would have to follow the new man by her side to witness the death of the family. I'm sorry, Guangming. Yang Jinxian stood downstairs and thought to herself. Song Jinming killed people here, which is also revenge for you. But for the rest of the Song family, I can't guarantee whether they will take revenge on me in the future. To eliminate future troubles, I can only kill them all. Just consider me selfish. I'm sorry. When she raised her face again, her eyes showed a look of determination. Let's go. Shen Heng took the lead and was the first to step into the Song group. The other three girls followed closely behind. They went straight up to the 15th floor. As soon as they reached the top of the stairs, they heard crazy roars echoing from the corridor. A bunch of useless trash. You only managed to snatch this little bit of supplies. Who was this enough for? The person who spoke was naturally Song Jinming. And in the corridor, Song Yinming's body had disappeared. It was unknown whether Song Jinming had buried it in the night. Shen Heng leaned against the wall with interest and listened to Song Jinming's scolding. Family head, we don't have a snowmobile. We basically can't go too far. Just now, Suja led a team to Yuding Flower Residence. It's a populous residential area, so they should definitely be able to snatch a lot of supplies. A weak voice rang out. How many people did Suja take? Don't let them capsize in the gutter. Song Jinming's voice softened considerably. Family head, a total of 10 people. Although they are few, they have guns in their hands. There shouldn't be any problem. The subordinate from just now replied softly. Yuding Flower Residence is a large residential area. To be on the safe side, I also had Zhang Zhigao lead 10 people to Kaiki Garden. That residential area has fewer people, but it's full of the old, weak, and sick. They might not be able to snatch much, but there will definitely be a harvest. You even prepared 2 plans. Song Jinming seemed very satisfied. Yes, remember to tell them to be more careful. If anyone resists, kill them all. I've already instructed them. You can rest assured, the subordinate said with a laugh. Right now, they should be getting close. If there are no surprises, they should be able to report back in an hour at most. Song Jinming nodded and ordered again. Add more firewood to the fire in the room. Don't let the old people in the house freeze. He turned to the shivering old woman beside him and asked with concern, Auntie, how are you feeling? Cold, the old woman stammered. Jinming, I'm a little hungry. You heard just now. They'll be back with supplies soon. Please bear with it for a little while, Song Jinming said. The old woman gritted her teeth and shivered. Bring all the blankets and quilts over for them. It's too cold. If Shen Heng were standing here, he would naturally recognize that the old woman who said this was one of the 2 old women who were first knocked out in the room after they entered yesterday. They were usually pampered and lived in luxury. Naturally, they couldn't stand the biting cold. Shen Heng had taken all their supplies yesterday. Even the clothes on their bodies were collected into his mental space. The purchasing system wouldn't accept them, but he could directly take them out and sell them. Many high-status elders of the Song family were now gathered around a fire. Several pieces of office furniture had been moved into Song Jinming's large office. The expensive, antique wooden desks and chairs had been reduced to firewood, but the Song family clearly didn't care about that anymore. Last night, by the time Song Jinming returned to the Song Corporation, it was already pitch black. Exhausted and starving, the group passed by a residential area in the northern suburbs, looted some dry rations and clothes, and finally made it back to the Song family building. But upon entering, they were all stunned. The entire 15th floor had been stripped clean, left almost completely empty. A few elders had somehow dug up a lighter and were trembling as they started a fire to keep warm. Even so, over a dozen elders had already frozen into ice statues. With a dark expression, Song Jinming ordered everyone to bring out the food and eat a little. Then, with tears in their eyes, they buried the unfortunate elders and his younger brother, Song Yinming. Well, buried was an overstatement. They simply dragged the bodies downstairs and tossed them into the thick snow. With such a heavy blizzard, the bodies would be completely buried in no time. Afterward, Song Jinming led the others to stoke the fire, barely managing to keep the rest of them alive through the night. If Song Jinming hadn't decided to return in time, everyone would have likely frozen to death overnight. Furious and resentful, Song Jinming had his loyal lapdog, Li Mingbei, secretly dispatch Su Jie and Zhang Zhigao this morning to lead separate teams on a looting run. As long as they could scavenge the necessary supplies, they could help everyone survive this crisis. With guns in hand, he didn't panic in the slightest. Even in the face of such harsh conditions, Song Jinming still believed the Song family could turn the tide. Wan Xian, Song Jinming ordered. In a moment, take a team of 10 elites and head to the Lynn family. Understood, a steady voice replied. Lin Lu, who was standing by the door, instinctively held her breath when she heard her family's name. She then heard Song Jinming continue. The head of the Lin family may be dead, but they definitely still have plenty of food stockpiled. Loot everything. The Lin family is in chaos right now, with everyone fighting amongst themselves, so don't hold back. If anyone dares to get in your way, open fire. Understood, Wan Xian nodded respectfully. Lin Lu's eyes flashed with fury. Her father had been murdered by Song Jinming, yet he still refused to let the Lin family off the hook. He was even blatantly robbing the entire Lin family of their supplies. By the way, contact Lin Min later. She knows exactly where the supplies are hidden. Song Jinming added, and Wan Xian nodded again. Lin Min? Lin Lu froze. That's my cousin, my second uncle's daughter. But from the way Song Jinming spoke, it sounded like Lin Min had been in contact with him for a long time. If she wants to come here, bring her along. The Lin family is doomed anyway. If she hadn't secretly led the way, I wouldn't have been able to find old man Lin so quickly. Since she's that into me, I suppose I should give her a chance. Song Jinming chuckled darkly. Patriarch, what about our Song family supplies that vanished into thin air? Should we keep searching for them? Wan Xian asked. Song Jinming narrowed his eyes. To knock out all the elders in the family, the culprit obviously used sleeping gas. I don't know who it is or what faction has the guts to blatantly mess with the Song family's interests. But the fact that they struck right after we left proves they weren't confident enough to face our numbers head-on. Anyone who dares to steal from my Song family will definitely pay a heavy price. Song Jinming's face darkened once more. I suspect this is Lin Jinxiao's doing. The Lin family is currently leaderless. He wants to fight Lin Min for power, so of course, he needs supplies to buy people's loyalty. But he'd better pray I don't find him, or I'll tear him to pieces. Li Mingbei took a step back, called a few men to follow him, and quickly turned to leave. Shen Heng hurriedly pulled the girls up to the 16th floor, hiding stealthily in the shadows. Then, he saw a burly figure leading 10 heavily armed men quickly down the stairs. After they left, Shen Heng took out his phone and called Ren Jie. Boss, Ren Jie's voice rang out from the phone. Take your men to Yuding Mansion and Kaiki Garden and set up a quiet ambush. A 10-man squad will be arriving at each of those locations shortly. Wipe them out, Shen Heng ordered calmly. These guys are armed with firearms. Tell the brothers not to hold back and not to worry about conserving ammo. As long as you ensure your own safety, kill every last one of them. Leave no survivors. Understood, Ren Jie replied respectfully. Shen Heng put down his phone a smirk playing on his lips. Song Jinming, didn't you have ambitions to conquer the entire northern district? I'll show you. The news of your precious subordinates being wiped out will reach your ears, one by one. I wonder if you'll still hold on to those grand ambitions then. Today, Gui Yuping had chosen Yuding Mansion as the target residential area to occupy. Since it was a large-scale community, he had dispatched quite a few brothers, with Ah Bin as the main person in charge. After receiving Shun Heng's orders, Ah Bin had his subordinates gather the supplies and move them to an empty building. He then ordered the specialists to temporarily halt all trading. They were told to return to the waiting room immediately. Although many specialists looked displeased, the moment they saw Ah Bin pull out his gun, they instantly shut up and obeyed, heading back to their rooms. The entire residential area immediately fell dead silent. After assigning a few lackeys to guard the supply building, Ah Bin led the rest of his men to the community gates. He surveyed the terrain, then took out 2 landmines and carefully buried them under the snow. The other brothers hid in various corners, raising their guns and aiming straight at the entrance. Ah Bin held a sniper rifle, resting it on a window sill, while his other hand tightly gripped the mine detonator. These lackeys were well trained. Thanks to the continuous supply of resources and strict militarized management, their combat readiness had improved significantly. Despite the heavy snowfall and the long wait, they remained perfectly still. Shin Hung had armed these men to the teeth, so even lying in the snow, they didn't feel cold at all. The thick snow even covered their entire bodies. With this specialized gear, they didn't have to worry about being poisoned either. Their entire bodies were fully covered, even their faces, protecting them from the deep snow and allowing them to breathe normally. They're here. Right then, Ah Bin's voice echoed through the earpieces. Everyone instantly went on high alert. A group of 11 men appeared, swaggering forward with guns in hand. Although they maintained a basic level of vigilance, they visibly sighed in relief when they saw the empty gates. All right, we've reached Yuding Mansion. Suja turned to glance at the brothers behind him and barked in a low voice. Once we're inside, we loot everything we can. Top priority is food and water, followed by blankets and clothes. Do whatever it takes to gather as much as possible. Understood. The men nodded in unison, their eyes filled with excitement and fanaticism. It was the thrill of the apocalypse. Last night, Song Jinming had led them on a raid where they shot a few people and scored a decent amount of food. It felt amazing. Today, they got to follow Brother Su on another looting spree, especially in a massive community like Yuding Mansion. The patriarch isn't here right now. There must be plenty of young girls still alive in this huge place, right? If we run into some pretty ones, couldn't we? At the thought of this, every single one of their eyes gleamed. First, let's start with the building right by the entrance. We need to move fast. Suja ordered. The men voiced their agreement, charging through the gates with wicked grins. But just as they reached the main entrance, an earth-shattering explosion suddenly erupted. Boom. The 3 men at the front were blown sky-high before they could even let out a scream. Suja's eardrums rang violently. Before he could even process what had happened, gunfire suddenly erupted from the other side. Suja's heart dropped. Oh no, an ambu. Before he could even finish the thought, a bullet hole suddenly appeared right in the middle of his forehead. His body convulsed violently before he went limp and collapsed to the ground. It was Ah Bin firing his sniper rifle. The moment Suja opened his mouth to speak, Ah Bin had deduced that he was the squad leader of the group. Naturally, Ah Bin made him the first target. After taking out Suja, Ah Bin didn't hesitate for a second, calmly shifting his scope to the next guy. Then, he pulled the trigger. Damn it. Another muffled thud rang out as the next man's forehead burst into a bloody mess, his head snapping back as he hit the dirt. To Ah Bin's squad, these 11 men were nothing. In the blink of an eye, they were all wiped out. All right, wrap it up. Ah Bin dismantled his sniper rifle, packed it up, and shoved it into his backpack. He then strolled out, casually twirling his handgun, as his subordinates piled the bodies together. Ah Bin counted the corpses, 11 in total. He picked up his phone to report, 11 hostiles just breached Yuding Mansion. We've taken care of all of them. Awaiting further instructions. Shortly after, Rinjie's satisfied voice came through the line. Good. Resume your trading operations. Many residents in the building had clearly heard the rapid gunfire, their faces turning pale with fear. After hearing the announcement that trading had resumed, they hesitated for a moment. But ultimately, driven by the need for supplies, they mustered their courage and went downstairs to trade. This time, however, no one dared to complain, and absolutely no one dared to cut in line. The rule was simple: follow the rules. On the other side was Kaiki Garden, a small residential area mostly populated by the elderly. Originally, Gui Yuping had no plans to occupy Kaiki Garden today. However, since the boss had given the order, he immediately sent someone over from a neighboring community, rushing all the way. Unexpectedly, the two groups bumped into each other right at the community gates. "Who are you people?" Zhang Zhigao stared warily at the group in white suits opposite them. "I'm from the Song family my ass." The leader suddenly drew his handgun and, without a second of hesitation, unloaded a barrage of bullets into Zhang Zhigao. He knew full well that these had to be the Song family men Brother Jia had ordered them to hit. So, shooting them was the right move. Zhang Zhigao didn't even have time to utter a single word before he collapsed dead to the ground. The men behind the leader were already prepared, drawing their handguns in unison and aiming straight at the enemy. These guys were basically sitting ducks. They never expected the group opposite them to open fire without a word. Even though they were armed, they were gunned down before they could even draw their weapons. The subordinate stepped forward, counted the bodies, and pulled out his phone to report. Reporting to Brother Jia. The 11 Song family men at Kaiki Garden have been completely wiped out. Awaiting further instructions. Brother Peng ordered us to take over this residential area while we're at it. The supply transport vehicles will be here soon. Take your men and head in first. Broadcast the announcement about the trading so the specialists can mentally prepare themselves, Ren Jia ordered. The two reports quickly made their way to Shenheng. Shenheng nodded in satisfaction. It seemed these well-equipped lackeys were highly efficient. They had completed the occupation in no time. "What about my family?" Lin Lu asked hesitantly. "What should we do?" "The Lin family is in total chaos right now." According to Song Jinming, Lin Min has taken full control of the Lin family, while the rest have left with Lin Jianxiao. "Do you really think those who willingly follow Lin Min's orders deserve to live?" Shenheng asked nonchalantly. Lin Lu was momentarily speechless. Just earlier, she had disclosed everything about Lin Min and Lin Jianxiao to Shenheng. Lin Min was the daughter of her second uncle, Lin Yongqiang. Lin Yongqiang also had a young son, Lin Qin. As for Lin Jianxiao, he was the cousin of Lin Lu's father, Lin Yongxiang, and was fiercely loyal to him. Those who had previously been loyal to Lin Yongxiang had followed Lin Jianxiao and left the Lin family after Lin Yongxiang's death. Now, everyone left in the Lin family had submitted to Lin Min. "I understand." Lin Lu took a deep breath and slowly nodded. Shenheng looked at Lin Lu with an approving gaze. Her mindset was leagues stronger than Ning Xiao's. But last night, Ning Xiao had declared she would no longer be a bleeding heart, which was exactly why Shenheng had accepted a relationship with her. Of course, Shenheng was only giving her one chance. If Ning Xiao fell back into her naive, overly compassionate ways, he wouldn't hesitate to toss her aside. The group on the 16th floor found some chairs, sat down, and quietly listened to the commotion downstairs. It wasn't long before Song Jinming lost his patience. Frowning, he asked, "How are Su Zhe and Zhang Zhigao doing? Why hasn't there been a single message from them after all this time? They're armed, for crying out loud. Those nobodies in the looting zones should be easy pickings. It's been so long, yet still no news. What a bunch of useless trash." Li Mingbei hurriedly nodded. "Patriarch, give me a moment. I'll contact them right now." He pulled out his phone and called Su Zhe, but it rang for a long time with no answer. "What's going on?" Li Mingbei looked bewildered. He carefully glanced at Song Jinming, and seeing his face grow even paler, quickly added, "Yuding Mansion is quite large, after all. He's probably too busy gathering supplies to answer the phone. I'll call Zhang Zhigao. His area is full of frail old women, maybe even some tiny grannies. There's no way he'd have any trouble." But after dialing the number, Zhang Zhigao didn't answer either. Song Jinming finally sensed something was wrong. He frowned and barked, "Call someone else. Find out what the hell is going on." Upstairs, Shenheng grinned silently. "Call someone else. You think you can actually reach those freaks? Your 20-something subordinates are already one step ahead of you, reporting in at the gates of hell. And it'll be your turn soon enough, Song Jinming." "Patriarch, no one is answering." Li Mingbei frantically dialed over a dozen numbers, but not a single one picked up. He suddenly realized something was terribly wrong, his voice trembling. Suja's squad and Zhang Zhigao's squad. They went to completely different residential areas, yet there's dead silence from both sides. Damn it! Song Jinming slammed his fist onto the desk, his face twisting in fury. Bastards! How exactly did you arrange this? Li Mingbei looked miserable. I just told them to take their men to Yuding Mansion and Kaiki Garden, loot all the supplies they could find, and come back. I didn't say anything else out of line. Besides, they have guns. How could they possibly be in danger? Exactly. Song Jinming's face was ice cold as he narrowed his eyes. These subordinates are all armed. How could they be in danger? Even if they were, they should have had enough time to send a message and call for backup. But now, it's like these men have vanished off the face of the earth. Wait, could they have secretly betrayed me? Song Jinming's expression froze. Su Zhe and Zhang Zhigao were both capable men, which was why they were trusted to lead the squads out. If Su Zhe and Zhang Zhigao had secretly colluded, and each took 10 subordinates with them, that meant they had now merged into a force of 22 men. 22 young, armed fighters. Song Jinming only had a little over 60 subordinates in total. Those two leaving had just taken a third of his forces. Song Jinming knew full well that Su Zhe used to be loyal to Song Guangming. After Song Jinming became the patriarch, he urgently needed to consolidate his power. Plus, Su Zhe was highly capable, so he kept him around, thinking he could eventually make use of him. Did Su Zhe find out I killed Song Guangming? But what about Zhang Zhigao? Did that thick-eyebrowed, big-eyed bastard betray me too? Hurry, call 1xin. Song Jinming ordered frantically as the thought struck him. 1xin had also taken 10 men. If he had ulterior motives and joined forces with Su Zhe and Zhang Zhigao, it meant his own forces would be weakened even further, while Su Zhe's power would skyrocket. If 33 men have left, the core force I spent years building is now cut in half. And the men Su Zhe took might even be crazy enough to come after me. I still have to look after the weak and sick in the Song family. But Su Zhe is completely different. His 30-plus men are all young elites, and every single one of them has a gun. Song Jinming felt a sudden wave of regret, like he had just dropped a rock on his own foot. He was the one who got those guns from Wang Peng and armed his subordinates with them. And now, the very men I armed have all fucking betrayed me. Hello? 1xin speaking. Mr. Li, what's the matter? Li Mingbei was the vice president of the Song Corporation, and 1xin still used his old title. Phew. Li Mingbei breathed a sigh of relief and turned to smile at Song Jinming. Patriarch, I got through to 1xin. Song Jinming's brow relaxed slightly, but thinking of Su Zhe, he couldn't help but curse under his breath. How are things on your end? Song Jinming signaled Li Mingbei to put the phone on the desk and turn on the speaker. Patriarch, we've arrived at the Lynn family, 1xin said with a smile. I just contacted Miss Lynn Min. We'll be able to gather the Lynn family's supplies shortly, and we can even recruit their subordinates. Song Jinming nodded. I'm leaving the Lynn family to you. Gather all their people and supplies according to the plan. Yes, Patriarch. Rest assured, I guarantee the mission will be completed, 1xin replied respectfully. After hanging up, Song Jinming breathed a sigh of relief. According to Lin Min, the Lin family still had over 30 people, including nearly 10 young fighters. Even though these people didn't have guns, they could at least be of some use. Once they were absorbed, his forces would have nearly 50 young, combat-ready fighters, with over 40 of them forming the core strength. A force like that would be enough to sweep through the residential areas in the northern part of the city. Hearing Song Jinming's arrangements downstairs, Shun Hung scoffed in disdain. He pulled out his phone, checked the map, and then called Rin Jie. Brother, set up your men near East Yunxi Road and ambush the intersection. The Song family men will be escorting the Lin family through there shortly. Open fire and wipe them out. Ensure maximum safety for our brothers. If possible, capture Lin Min alive. But if they put up a desperate fight, leave no survivors. Yes, boss, Rin Jie nodded in agreement. After the previous 2 skirmishes, he was brimming with confidence in his squad. He had discovered that the recoil on their guns was incredibly low, yet the firepower was terrifying. Moreover, their overall gear was even better than what he had back in the military. His brothers were well-fed and warm. With a squad like this, and having the element of surprise in an ambush, Ning Xiao would feel ashamed if anyone even got injured, let alone killed in action. Lin Lu stood by his side, her lips pressed tightly together in silence. Do you think I'm being a bit too ruthless? Shen Heng asked. About the order I just gave. Do you really not care about the life or death of your Lin family? I can accept it. Before Shen Heng could finish, Lin Lu gently hugged his arm and said seriously, these people have already betrayed the Lin family and sided with Lin Min. Besides, I made up my mind yesterday to be your woman. As for the Lin family, her eyes showed a hint of melancholy. If they can survive, then of course, that's for the best. After all, my father always hoped I could grow the Lin family. Even though her father wanted to marry her into a top-tier powerful family in Jiangcheng, his ultimate wish was still for the Lin family to prosper and become a first-rate family in the city. That was my father's dying wish. Lin Lu looked up, her voice slightly hoarse. Anyway, Uncle Xiao already led the others to escape. At least he preserved some of the Lin family's bloodline. She knew perfectly well that Lin Min had always been jealous of her. Furthermore, that woman had an intense lust for power and always wanted to become the head of the Lin family. In Lin Min's mind, even if she couldn't succeed, the position of patriarch should go to her younger brother. But Lin Lu's father had once said that her brother was still young, and if Lin Lu had a son in the future, the child could take the Lin surname, passing the family legacy to his grandson. This drove Lin Min absolutely insane. Why is Lin Lu so loved by everyone? Besides, Lin Lu is a woman just like me. Why should her son inherit the Lin family? Isn't this just taking advantage of the fact that my father died early? From that moment on, a seed of bitter jealousy took root in Lin Min's heart. If Lin Lu's future son can become the patriarch, why can't I? Even if I can't, my brother is the only male heir of the Lin family. Just because he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, he can't be patriarch? Ridiculous. What does a patriarch even do anyway? Isn't it all just relying on a bunch of subordinates? After that, Lin Min secretly colluded with those in the family who were dissatisfied with Ning Xiao, harboring ambitions to seize power one day. She never expected that day to come so soon. She had long established a relationship with Song Jinming. When the apocalypse descended, Lin Min felt the situation was incredibly in her favor and took the initiative to contact him. Right now, Lin Min held her head high with arrogance, leading over 30 Lin family members as they pushed makeshift wooden sleds toward the Song Corporation's territory. Although quite a few people in the Lin family were whispering and gossiping about Lin Min's methods, these are our Lin family supplies, after all. Why do we have to deliver them right to the Song family's doorstep? Lin Min had already explained it to them. The Song family currently had guns. They were only lacking supplies. If they cooperated with the Song family, the Lin family could live in peace. But if they refused, and the Song family turned hostile, who among them could stop a bullet? The Lin family members were left speechless. When they reached the intersection at East Yunxi Road, Lin Min, panting heavily, turned around and ordered, "Everyone, take a break. We're almost there." Hearing this, the Lin family members immediately collapsed onto the ground. The Lin family originally had quite a few snowmobiles, but they had all been stolen by the Song family. Now, they had to exhaust themselves manually transporting supplies for the very same people. They couldn't help but wonder if following Lin Min was a massive mistake. As many of the Lin family members rested, they shot venomous glares at Wan Xian. But the moment they saw the gun on him, their eyes instantly sobered up. "Miss Lin, rest for a moment and then get ready to move. Let's not waste too much time." Wan Xian walked over to Lin Min and reminded her. "I know that." Lin Min frowned, voicing her displeasure. This Wan Xian was so polite to me earlier, but now that the Lin family has finished moving the goods, his attitude has become so disrespectful. I wonder if your patriarch, Song Jinming, is around for my arrival this time? I'm bringing the entire Lin family fortune with me. This is basically my dowry into the Song family. In the future, I'll be the young mistress of your Song family. Watch your attitude." She glared at Wan Xian in annoyance, deciding that when she saw Song Jinming later, she would definitely whisper some complaints into his ear. The group chatted away, completely oblivious to the fact that quite a few men in white suits were hiding in the corners of the intersection. Ning Xiao took the lead, hiding behind a dumpster. Surrounding him were 50 brothers, guns at the ready. After receiving Shunheng's call, Rin Jie was buzzing with excitement. Today, he had led his men to transport a massive amount of greenery. When he heard they were going to hit the Song family, he couldn't sit still and volunteered to command this operation. Besides, looking at the map, the residential area he was in wasn't far from East Yunqi Road. He immediately rallied his brothers and headed to the intersection to set up the ambush. Not far away was the mixed convoy of the Lin and Song families. They were pushing wooden boards piled high with all sorts of supplies. That must be the Lin family group. Standing tall beside the Lin family group was a woman with an arrogant expression. That must be Lin Min, all right. We won't kill this woman first. Lin Min was currently talking to a man who had a handgun in his grip. He's probably the leader of the Song family squad this time. Thinking this, Rin Jie issued an order through his earpiece. Everyone, look closely. Pick your own targets. Focus primarily on the ones holding guns. They must be taken out immediately. That young woman talking is likely Lin Min, the one the boss said not to kill. But make sure you aim right for the head of the guy talking to her. Wait for my command, then execute them immediately. Copy that. Copy that. The responses of his subordinates hiding nearby echoed in his earpiece. They had finished setting up the ambush, practically blending in with the snowy landscape. Miss Lin, let's go. After less than 2 minutes of rest, Wan Xin urged her again. Ever since he received that phone call, he had felt something was off. He could tell that the patriarch's voice on the phone was incredibly stiff. Knowing Song Jinming as he did, something must have happened back at the base. Therefore, he needed to rush back to protect the patriarch and prove his loyalty. Wan Xin, do you know who I am? Lin Min narrowed her eyes. The second miss of the Lin family, Wan Xin replied. Why are you suddenly asking me this? I'm not just some miss of the Lin family. Lin Min gritted her teeth. She absolutely despised it when people called her the second miss. Furthermore, back in the peaceful days, whenever people mentioned the Lin family, they would always talk about how beautiful the Lin family's daughter was. When those people saw her, they would look confused until someone else explained, this is the second miss of the Lin family, not the patriarch's daughter. Only then would they suddenly understand and let out an "Oh, are you people blind dogs?" From then on, Lin Min harbored a deep-seated hatred for Lin Lu. Why is Lin Lu so much better than me? Why did my father have to die early? If he hadn't, he would be the patriarch of the Lin family. Why is Lin Lu prettier than me? Why should her future son get to control the Lin family, but I can't? Even my brother, the only boy in the Lin family, can't? She was utterly disgusted by the title second miss of the Lin family. Whenever someone brought it up, she would scowl and snap back, declaring herself as Lin Yongqiang's daughter. Now, hearing Wan Xin use that very title, Lin Min naturally didn't hold back and yelled at him. Wan Xin, listen to me carefully. Lin Lu is missing, and the Lin family is in my hands. I am the patriarch of the Lin family. The only reason I'm bringing these supplies and the Lin family to the Song Corporation is because I want to marry Song Jinming. That means in the future, I will be the young mistress of the Song family. You're just a lowly servant of the Song family, yet you dare speak to me in that tone. Lin Min's face was ice cold. What the hell are they doing? Why are they so loud? Rin Jie peeked out from behind the dumpster, his face full of question marks. He was still waiting for the group to get closer so he could score merit. He hadn't expected that right after giving orders to his brothers, he'd hear Lin Min seemingly arguing with Wan Xin. He quietly watched the furious Lin Min, then reached up and tapped his earpiece. The earpiece Rin Jie wore had even more powerful features than the ones his brothers had. With a twist of the switch on the edge of the earpiece, he tried it out, activating its enhanced audio amplification function. Not far away, the voices of Lin Min and Wan Xin came through crystal clear. Miss Lin, I'm just giving a standard reminder. I hope the Lin family group can quickly follow us back. After all, our patriarch is still waiting, Wan Xin replied nonchalantly. As for whether you'll become the young mistress of our Song family in the future, that has nothing to do with me. I only follow the patriarch's orders. Lin Min gritted her teeth, glaring at Wan Xin for a long time before letting out a cold sneer. Fine, Wan Xin. When I see Song Jinming later, I'll be sure to tell him exactly how you treated us. Wan Xion's face was stony, the submachine gun in his hand swaying slightly. So, can we tell everyone to move out now? You still dare to threaten me? Lin Min's eyes widened. I already said we need to rest a bit. What? You want to threaten me with that gun? Go ahead, shoot me if you have the guts. Or come over here and beat me to death. Let's see if you have the balls for it. Won Xian was also furious. He had just received orders from the Song family building, and he knew perfectly well that in the patriarch's eyes, Lin Min was nothing more than a tool. Thank you for listening to the audio story on my channel. This is a product of xalosach.com. Thank you for accompanying us. We hope you have a fulfilling and meaningful time enjoying the story. Lin Min looked incredibly plain. A woman like her actually dreaming of becoming the young mistress of the Song family? What a delusional fantasy. Won Xian knew very well that there was only one woman the patriarch truly desired. That was the wife of the former patriarch, Song Guangming's wife, and Song Jinming's sister-in-law, Yang Jinhuan. If he couldn't have a beautiful woman like Yang Jinhuan, Song Jinming would happily settle for someone like Lin Lu. But Lin Min? This kind of woman was a 7 out of 10 at best. Did she really think she was worthy, or that their patriarch could actually like her? What blind arrogance. Do you think our patriarch has never seen a woman before? What's with that look? Seeing Won Xian glance at her with disdain, Lin Min grew even more furious and screamed, Won Xian, you're just Song Jinming's dog. What kind of attitude is that? I'm calling Song Jinming right now. I'll tell him I'm not going to the Song family anymore. Without our Lin family's supplies, you Song family bastards can just starve to death. Lin Min whipped out her phone and dialed Song Jinming's number. Hello? Seeing Lin Min calling, Song Jinming answered immediately. He was still secretly annoyed. How the hell is Won Xian handling things? It's been so long, and he still hasn't brought the Lin family over. Even though Lin Min was plain looking, he couldn't find any other women right now, so he could reluctantly play with her. It was the perfect time to vent his frustrations. Plus, she was incredibly arrogant. Breaking Lin Min and turning her from a haughty woman into an obedient bitch would surely be highly entertaining. Song Jinming, let me tell you, from now on, the partnership between our Lin family and your Song family is completely cancelled. What do you take me for? Lin Min shrieked furiously, then immediately hung up. Now that she had just taken control of the Lin family, her entire mindset had shifted. I am the patriarch of the Lin family. Dozens of people in the Lin family have to follow my orders. Why should I have to look at the attitude of some lowly servant from the Song family? Song Jinming stared blankly at his screen. Before he could even ask a single question, Lin Min had already hung up. What the hell is going on? He took a deep breath and immediately called Won Xian. Hello, patriarch. Seeing Song Jinming's name on the screen, Won Xian hurriedly answered with respect and stepped to the side. Witnessing this, Lin Min let out a mocking smirk. Wasn't he acting all high and mighty just a second ago? Look at him now. Song Jinming is calling to interrogate him. What happened? Song Jinming asked bluntly. Patriarch, we reached the intersection at East Yunxi Road. She wanted to let the Lin family rest, but I was worried about unexpected complications, so I urged them to keep moving. I told them to wait until we reached the Song Corporation to rest. But she refused. She kept screaming that I was insulting her, calling me a lowly servant of the Song family, and claiming she's the future young mistress, Won Xian reported honestly. You are not a servant. You are my brother, Song Jinming consoled him gently. As for Lin Min, haha, she's just a mediocre woman. She doesn't even count as a beauty. If it weren't for the Lin family's supplies and the fact that I still want to play with her, I wouldn't even bother wasting time with her. I would have just let you rob them blind. Hearing this, Won Xian couldn't help but feel moved. Don't pay any mind to that woman's nonsense, Song Jinming chuckled. Just humor her for now. Once she arrives at the Song Corporation, I'll personally train her into an obedient bitch, and then I'll let you have your fun with her. You can vent your anger properly then. Thank you, patriarch. Won Xian's eyes lit up. Song Jinming indeed had some rather unique tastes in this area. In the past, there had been many women whom he would toss to his subordinates to play with after he was done with them. This was the key reason why, even in the brutal apocalypse, Song Jinming still had a group of loyal subordinates following him. All right then, I'll leave this entirely in your hands. Song Jinming gave a few more instructions before hanging up. Won Xian now looked incredibly refreshed. He turned around, and seeing Lin Min still standing in the same spot, he couldn't help but chuckle inwardly. You can be arrogant for now. Just wait until the family head gets tired of you, and you fall into my hands. I'll let you try my 2-foot-long ice pick-on for size. We'll see how you feel then. What did Song Jinming say to you? Lin Man said coldly. Is he planning to dissolve our partnership with the Lin family? But as soon as the words left her mouth, she immediately noticed the mocking, hateful glint in Wan Xian's eyes. Lin Man had learned to read people's expressions from a young age, and her eyebrows instantly furrowed. "Heh, Lin." Wan Xian had just opened his mouth when a deafening gunshot echoed from the distance. His eyes widened in shock. A large, bloody hole appeared in the middle of his forehead, splattering fresh blood all over Lin Man's face. Lin Man's face went deathly pale, her mouth agape in horror. It took a long while for her to come to her senses. The shot, of course, came from Ning Xiao. As his shot rang out, the others opened fire in unison, aiming at the Song family members they had already targeted. The sound of continuous gunfire roared. A few seconds later, more than a dozen members of the Song family fell silently to the ground. Just moments ago, they were alive and full of energy. Now, before they could even draw their own guns, they collapsed, becoming nothing more than lifeless corpses. The 30-odd resting members of the Lin family were completely stunned. Ning Xiao led his men out, surrounding the Lin family group. Lin Man stared in shock at Ning Xiao's men and blurted out, Who are you people? Miss Lin, my apologies for the scare. Ning Xiao stepped forward and said politely, The family head just called me. He said Wan Xian is a traitor with indecent intentions toward you. So, the head ordered me to bring the rest of the Song family members to protect you. Huh. Lin Man's head was spinning. She glanced at Wan Xian's body on the ground, then back at Ning Xiao. Why have I never seen you before? Our Song family suffered heavy losses at the grain depot. I was just a low-ranking soldier in the family before, but the family head saw my potential and entrusted me to lead the team here. Ning Xiao had clearly overheard the conversation between Lin Man and Wan Xian, as well as the call between Wan Xian and Song Jinming. So, these lies flowed from his mouth with ease. Lin Man, still in disbelief, asked again, You mean he really had indecent intentions toward me? As she spoke, she pointed a finger at Wan Xian's corpse. That's right, Ning Xiao nodded. In these apocalyptic times, our Song family may have guns, but that also breeds ambition in many. Wan Xian brought his loyal followers. With a single word from him, they would all betray the family head. It's better to kill them on the spot than to let them cause trouble later. He waved his hand. Brothers. His men immediately rushed forward, collected all the guns from Wan Xian and the others, and slung them over their backs. Lin Man didn't know much about weapons, but from the looks of it, the guns on Wan Xian's men were identical to the ones Ning Xiao and his group carried. That, combined with the strange look she had just seen in Wan Xian's eyes, made Lin Man nod in agreement. Then why? She wanted to ask more, but Ning Xiao quickly cut her off. Miss Lin, our Song family is allied with the Lin family. The family head also wishes to marry you. This Song-Lin alliance will make us unstoppable in the entire North City. Furthermore, before I came, the family head instructed me to tell you that as long as our cooperation goes smoothly, the Lin family will be preserved, and you will remain its head. In the future, you and our family head can have 2 sons. One will take the Lin surname to carry on the Lin family line. That sentence struck a chord deep in Lin Man's heart. He even knows the details of the cooperation between the Lin and Song families. He must have been sent by Song Jinming. A smile bloomed on her face, and she angrily kicked Wan Xian's corpse twice. This bastard. He was just looking at me with those weird eyes. He never contacted the family head at all. Ning Xiao said as he pulled out his phone, opened the call history, and held it out for Lin Man to see. He continued, We just arrived, but we saw Wan Xian with you from a distance. To be safe, I specifically requested instructions from the family head. However, he put the phone away as soon as he finished speaking. Lin Man obviously couldn't see the call history clearly, but with Ning Xiao's performance, she no longer had any doubts. So, where is Jinming now? Lin Man asked. The family head is on the 15th floor of the Song family building. We'll escort you there right now. Ning Xiao waved his hand again. Several of his men stepped forward and quickly began pushing the supplies on the wooden planks. With such an enthusiastic attitude, Lin Man had no choice but to believe them. Besides, the other side had so many people, all armed. Yet, none of them had fired on anyone from the Lin family. If they wanted to rob them of their supplies, they would have done so already. Then you lead the way, Lin Man said with a smile. Miss Lin, if you're tired, please sit on the plank. Let the brothers push you. Rin Jie even offered with the utmost concern. At his words, a subordinate behind him took the initiative to shoulder the supplies from a wooden plank and then push the empty plank toward Lin Man's sharp kid. Rin Jie glanced at the subordinate with an appreciative look. It seems he could be put to good use in the future. Please have a seat. This subordinate was even more quick-witted. He smiled and gestured for her to sit, his movements incredibly smooth, as if he'd done this 1,000 times. Lin Man's mood soared, a hint of a blush on her face. What nonsense are you talking about? It's bound to happen sooner or later anyway. The subordinate scratched his head and grinned. Then I'd be a fool not to accept. Lin Man sat down on the wooden plank. Then, the group started moving toward the Song family building. The Lin family members, who had just been resting, now didn't even have to push their own supplies. Smiles bloomed on every one of their faces. That's right. This is what a real partnership should feel like. That one Xian from before, better not to mention him. He's dead anyway. Rin Jie led the way. Along the road, he took out his phone and sent a text to Shinhong. Boss, the 30-plus members of the Lin family have been secured. Where do you want to meet them? Shinhong was sitting on the 16th floor. When he received the message, his face lit up. Bring them to the Financial Circle Center opposite the Song family building. Rin Jie's efficiency was as high as ever. But now, it was time to deal with the Song family. What's Wan Xian doing? Why isn't he back yet? A moment later, Song Jinming's roar echoed from downstairs. The east road of Yunxi Pavilion isn't far from the Song family building. It's been this long. Even with supplies, Wan Xian should have been here ages ago. Could something have happened to Wan Xian's group, too? He frowned, picking up his phone to call Wan Xian. However, Wan Xian's phone just kept ringing. Still no answer. Song Jinming gritted his teeth. I already promised you, Lin Man, you bastard. Why are you ignoring my calls just like Su Zhe and the others? Li Mingbo saw Song Jinming's ferocious expression and felt a chill in his heart. He quickly started calling the subordinates Wan Xian had taken with him. But after several calls, Li Mingbo's heart sank into an abyss. These men were just like the ones Su Zhe and Zhang Zhigao had taken. The calls went through, but no one answered. Could Wan Xian have really betrayed us? The thought made Li Mingbo's face change drastically. He hurriedly said, Family head, this is bad. What is it? Song Jinming's face was as dark as thunder. If Wan Xian has also teamed up with Su Zhe and the others, then they have over 30 guns. More importantly, Wan Xian went to pick up the Lin family. Doesn't that mean all of the Lin family's supplies are now theirs? The more Li Mingbo thought, the more he sweated. So, the Lin family. Could they have been secretly plotting with Wan Xian and Su Zhe all along? Family head, I get it now? No wonder Su Zhe and the others dared to betray us. It turns out they have the Lin family supplies to back them up. The Lin family has the goods, and they have the guns. Isn't that a perfect match? Song Jinming stared blankly at Li Mingbo, his lips trembling, unable to speak. Although this possibility sounded a bit bizarre, sometimes the most bizarre things were the truth. The Lin family and Su Zhe colluding. Song Jinming's face turned ashen. Our Song family has no supplies left. None at all, Li Mingbo said, filled with panic. Su Zhe and his group couldn't find any supplies and were afraid of being blamed by you when they returned. So they secretly contacted each other, then joined forces with the Lin family. They're responsible for protecting the Lin family, and in return, the Lin family provides them with all sorts of supplies. Jinming, the woman tending the fire nearby, opened her eyes and mumbled, I'm hungry. Auntie, don't worry. I will definitely find a way to get the supplies back. Song Jinming quickly soothed her gently, then shot a look at Li Mingbo. Li Mingbo nodded in understanding and followed Song Jinming out of the room and into the hallway. Family head, what do we do now? Li Mingbo asked softly. Send people out to find Su Zhe, Wan Xian, and their group? Find my ass. Song Jinming glared angrily at Li Mingbo. Where would we even look? Splitting up our forces to search would be like serving them our men on a silver platter. Then what should we do? Song Jinming's face had turned a sickly shade of green. He thought for a long time before speaking. We have to find supplies. We can't delay any longer. Even if all the slow old folks of the Song family die, I still have 30 young fighters around me who need food to replenish their energy. If we go hungry for a few more days, everyone will just take their guns and run. But now, he was in a state where he had no one trustworthy to command. If he led a group out himself, he was worried the elders in the building wouldn't make it. After all, it was only after his elder brother's death that he was able to smoothly take over as the family head, and these elders had contributed a great deal. Furthermore, these old people weren't just from the Song family. They were also the parents of his subordinates. If I don't care about them, my subordinates' loyalty will crumble. Who will I have left to command? Are the parents of Su Zhe and the others still alive? Song Zhiming asked softly. Yes, Li Mingbo nodded. Take these old people out secretly and kill them all. A ruthless glint flashed in Song Zhiming's eyes. Their sons have already betrayed me. Why should I keep feeding them? They're just wasting supplies. Understood. Li Mingbo nodded hastily. Mingbo. Song Zhiming suddenly glanced at Li Mingbo. After you kill them, take 20 men to Yuding Flower Residence. It's a large residential complex. You'll definitely be able to find supplies there. Yes, sir. Li Mingbo replied quickly. Can I trust you? Song Zhiming stared intently at Li Mingbo. Li Mingbo's face went pale. Family head, you can distrust anyone else, but how can you not trust me? My father is still being kept by the fire in your office. Good. Get moving. Don't waste any time, Song Zhiming said. Stay in contact with me at all times. Yes, sir. Li Mingbo ran off at once. He returned to the room, called 20 of his brothers, and together they helped up the frail, elderly relatives of the so-called traitors, then turned and walked out of the hallway. Shen Heng and his group, hiding on the floor above, peeked out and looked down below. Mingbo, where are you taking us? A woman asked with a trembling voice. Auntie, we're going downstairs to get you some blankets, Li Mingbo said with a smile. But as soon as they reached the lower floor, he shot a look at his subordinates. Everyone drew their knives in unison and, without the slightest hesitation, stabbed the elderly people they were supporting. These old folks were already weak and exhausted. They couldn't even let out a scream before they collapsed to the ground. See this? Li Mingbo stabbed the woman who had just questioned him a few more times before standing up and shouting coldly. Anyone who dares to have second thoughts about the family head, their families won't live to see another day. Your parents are all here, so you'd better focus on finding supplies. Yes, sir. Everyone shouted in unison. Let's go. Li Mingbo waved his hand, and the group quickly headed downstairs. To avoid arousing the family head's suspicion, he kept his phone on, maintaining the call. Just as he stepped into the first-floor lobby, a faint voice suddenly came from behind him. Li Mingbo. He turned his head and saw a ball of fire shoot straight toward his right arm. His arm melted in an instant. The phone he was holding clattered to the ground. Before Li Mingbo could even let out a blood-curdling scream, 21 more fireballs flew out, each one aimed at a different person. Li Mingbo's face was a mask of terror. Just as he was about to order his men to open fire, the flames were already upon them, rushing straight for their faces. Before anyone could even draw their guns, they were hit head-on by the fireballs. The flames erupted violently, engulfing their bodies in an instant. The moment the fire touched them, it flared up intensely, turning everyone into human torches. Even Li Mingbo didn't have time to let out a scream before he was completely burned to a black crisp. Right up to their last moments, Li Mingbo and his men never even saw who their attacker was. Sigh. Shen Heng let out a soft sigh and stepped out from the stairwell. This was the first time he had conjured so many deviant flames at once. Controlling them all at once had also consumed a great deal of his mental energy. The supernatural power in his body was down to about half. This made Shen Heng once again realize the true power of his deviant fire. When dealing with ordinary people, it seemed he could reduce the power of the flames to conserve energy and still have more than enough to incinerate his targets. This time, the firepower he unleashed was a bit excessive. Glancing at the 21 charcoal black corpses on the ground, Shen Heng walked over to the fallen phone, bent down, and picked it up. He mimicked Li Mingbo's voice and let out a contemptuous, mocking laugh. Mingbo, what are you laughing at? Song Zhiming's voice came from the phone. Family head, farewell, Shen Heng said in Li Mingbo's voice, then hung up. What do you mean? What farewell? Explain yourself. Hey. Song Zhiming's face turned ashen as he yelled into the phone, but all he heard in reply was a long, steady dial tone. "You son of a bitch." Song Jinming frantically redialed. Shin Hung glanced at the screen, switched the phone to silent mode, and tossed it on the ground. Song Jinming was going insane. Li Mingbo's phone was now unreachable too. Damn it. Even Li Mingbo betrayed me. Huh. He turned his head to look at the kind-faced old man sitting and chatting with his aunt. Damn you. Your son betrayed me too. And he took 20 men with him. Now, Song Jinming had less than 15 men left. I sent your son with more than half of my elite forces to find supplies, and he betrays me just minutes after leaving. And you still have the face to sit there and chat with my aunt. You useless old cripple. He grabbed a knife and charged straight at Li Mingbo's father, plunging the blade deep into the old man's chest. Old man Li, who had been laughing and talking just a moment before, coughed up a mouthful of blood and stared at Song Jinming in disbelief. Even at the moment of his death, he couldn't understand why Song Jinming would attack him. Didn't you always value my son the most? Besides, he went out to find supplies for you. What are you doing? Of course, he could no longer ask these questions. His head slumped, and his body fell to the ground. Jinming, the aunt beside him, screamed. You? What are you doing? Song Jinming wiped the blood from his face and said coldly. His son, Li Mingbo, took 20 of my brothers and betrayed me. Impossible. The Li family has been with us for years. They, shut up. Song Jinming roared in fury. What the hell do you know? Yesterday, I had over 60 subordinates, and now I'm left with 13. You keep screaming at me that you're hungry. One more mouth to feed, and I'll kill you too. You? The aunt stared at Song Jinming, both shocked and enraged. I am your aunt. I was the one who advised you to become the family head back then. How dare you speak to me like that? It's because you're my aunt that I've always wanted to protect you. Otherwise, I wouldn't give a damn if you lived or died. Song Jinming's eyes were bloodshot. Shut your mouth. I don't want to repeat myself a third time. He only had a dozen or so usable men left. He turned to look at the remaining dozen young men. He had no idea which of them might also be harboring thoughts of betrayal. He couldn't even feel safe taking them out to scavenge, armed as they were. God only knows if these subordinates would secretly shoot him in the back. Song Jinming, already deeply suspicious by nature, became even more insecure and paranoid after this incident. Subordinates betraying him one after another, and even pulling others with them. Suja took 10 men, Zhang Zhigao took 10, Wan Xian took 10, and Li Mingbo took 20. That's a total of 50 men. Plus the 4 of them, Suja, Zhang Zhigao, Wan Xian, Li Mingbo. That's 54 subordinates. And all of them had taken guns. Now, I only have a dozen or so men left. And among this dozen, I don't know how many have already turned, secretly contacting the Lynn family, or Suja, or Li Mingbo, and will follow them in betrayal. Traitors. These were the only words swirling in Song Jinming's mind. He sat helplessly on the chair, his eyes vacant. Just before, he had been eager to seize the grain depot, hoard supplies, and unify North City, maybe even all of Jiang City. And now look at him. Forget the grain depot. He couldn't even hold on to the Song family's own building. The few remaining old folks were now trembling, looking at Song Jinming in terror. Their sons had also left with Li Mingbo. Now that Song Jinming said Li Mingbo had led a betrayal, didn't that mean their sons had followed? The old men pulled out their phones, frantically calling their sons, but their phones had long been consumed by Shun Heng's deviant fire, completely unreachable. After a frantic round of calls, they closed their eyes in despair. Family head, a young subordinate stepped forward and asked hesitantly, "Are we still going to look for supplies? We have nothing left to eat. You want to betray me too?" Song Jinming suddenly shot up, grabbing the man by the collar and yelling, "Zhao Guanqing, who have you been secretly contacting? The Lin family? Or Suja? Li Mingbo?" Family head, Zhao Guanqing hurriedly explained, We haven't. If you don't believe us, you can check our phone records. Check your phones." Song Jinming sneered. "The fact that you dare to let me check just proves you've already wiped the records clean. What could I possibly find?" He turned to his remaining subordinates, gritting his teeth. "Anyone else want to go with them? Then get the hell out now." The dozen or so subordinates looked at each other in confusion. Zhao Guanqing dropped to his knees before Song Jinming. "Family head, we have absolutely no intention of betraying the family. Not in the past, not now, and not ever in the future. My life is yours. You saved me. Think about it. Have I ever shown any disloyalty all these years? Song Zhiming was taken aback, his gaze fixed on Zhao Guanqing. He had met Zhao Guanqing while drinking at a bar. He happened to witness a group fight where a bunch of guys were ganging up on Zhao Guanqing, but he fought back fiercely, showing no fear despite being only in his early 20s. At that time, Song Zhiming wanted to show off in front of a girl. He took a liking to Zhao Guanqing and stepped in to save him. The Song family might not be a top-tier family, but they were a prominent force among the second-tier families. The bar owner and the head of security both knew this young master of the Song family. With their backing, the commotion was quickly settled. Zhao Guanqing came to thank him afterward, and Song Zhiming told him to follow him. To be fair, Zhao Guanqing had always been loyal to him over the years. Even the dirty work, Song Zhiming would leave it to him, and he always handled it meticulously. When Zhao Guanqing got married, Song Zhiming even gifted him a car and a house. If I can't trust the others, can I still not trust Zhao Guanqing? Song Zhiming sighed and turned to him. Get up. I wasn't blaming you just now. You've been with me for so many years, don't I know you? Song Zhiming walked over and patted Zhao Guanqing's shoulder. You've been with me from the start. Of course I don't doubt you. But you've seen the current situation. Our Song family. Family head, we're still alive. We still have a chance. Zhao Guanqing said earnestly. If you're worried, I'll go out and scavenge for supplies myself. Are we just going to starve to death? Song Zhiming tapped his fingers on the table, silent. Just then, a young woman stepped forward. Zhiming, sister-in-law. Song Zhiming turned to look at her, a greedy glint in his eyes. This was Wang Peng's wife. Before Wang Peng left with the military, he had asked Song Zhiming to take care of his wife. Song Zhiming had, of course, agreed. That day, Li Manchu was brought to the Song family building. Li Manchu was incredibly beautiful. Even after having a child, her figure and looks were perfectly maintained. However, Wang Peng and Li Manchu were still in contact. So while Song Zhiming harbored desires for his sister-in-law, he never dared to force himself on her. My cousin is at Yuding Flower residence. I just contacted her and asked about the situation in her residential complex. Li Manchu frowned. She said there's a group of strangers operating in Yuding Flower residence. They're selling essential supplies like blankets, shoes, heating equipment, all kinds of instant noodles, mini heaters, portable stoves, canned food, and even mineral water. They have everything. Their supplies are constantly being transported into the complex. As of now, residents are still lining up to buy things. Where did they come from to have so many supplies? Song Zhiming was stunned. Yuding Flower Residence is a large complex with nearly 4,000 residents, totaling tens of thousands of people. They can provide enough supplies for that many people. Seeing Li Manchu nod, a look of joy appeared on Song Zhiming's face. Sister-in-law, are you saying we should go rob them of those supplies? If we can get our hands on those supplies, it'll be enough to feed the rest of the Song family. But Li Manchu shook her head. My cousin also said that the ones maintaining order at the transactions are a group of young men, and they're carrying guns. Guns? Song Zhiming's smile froze. His guns were secretly left behind by Wang Peng before he left. But gun ownership in Long Guo was strictly controlled. Even if some powerful people could get their hands on one or two, they couldn't be deployed on a large scale. What I mean is, didn't Suja lead a team to Yuding Flower Residence to scavenge for supplies before? Li Manchu frowned. Right before it was my cousin's turn to trade, they suddenly announced a temporary halt to all transactions, telling everyone to go home. Then, they moved all the supplies into a room. Shortly after, they all set up an ambush at the entrance of the complex. From my cousin's building, she could see the situation at the gate. She told me she saw a group of people arrive at Yuding Flower Residence, but as soon as they reached the gate, they were ambushed and shot dead by this group of young men. They even had mines. She saw with her own eyes several people get blown into the sky as soon as they reached the main gate. They all heard the loud explosions. What? Song Zhiming was dumbfounded. You mean, Suja and his men? Yes. Li Manchu nodded slowly, her expression also turning grim. I don't think Suja betrayed the Song family. They really did go to Yuding Flower Residence, but their movements were anticipated, and they were ambushed. And they were wiped out. As for Kaichi Gardens, I don't have any acquaintances there. You can have your men ask around, and see if any transactions are happening there. But I suspect Zhang Zhigao and his men probably died the same way. Wan Xian went to the Lin family, but it's possible he passed by some residential complex, saw a transaction in progress, and tried to rob them with his guns, only to get himself killed. As for Li Mingbo, I don't know. But given his attitude toward you before, he couldn't have betrayed you. His father was still here, starving. Li Mingbo is famous for being a devoted son. Song Jinming and Wang Peng were very close, so Li Manchu, as his wife, was naturally close to Song Jinming and knew his loyal subordinates well. In her eyes, these betrayals were just too strange. It wasn't until she remembered her distant cousin and tried contacting her that she began to understand the problem. And she guessed that Su Zhe and the others hadn't betrayed them, but had been killed. Dead men can't answer Song Jinming's calls. Song Jinming staggered back a few steps and collapsed into his chair. Family head, I have a friend at Kaichi Gardens. I'll call and ask right now. Zhao Guanqing quickly spoke up. He took out his phone and called his friend, asking a few hurried questions. After a moment, his pupils suddenly dilated. He replied with a few more words. After hanging up, Zhao Guanqing said with a grim face, "There was a firefight at the gate of Kaichi Gardens today. My friend said over a dozen people died. They were all too scared to go downstairs. But later, the survivors used a megaphone to announce they were selling goods, so they risked going down. I asked my friend to take pictures of the bodies. He'll send them to me in a bit." Song Jinming was frozen. He didn't dare turn around to look at the old folks by the fire. Not long after, Li Manchu's phone rang. She took it out and handed it to Song Jinming. "My cousin is timid. She didn't dare get close to take pictures. This is what she took from a distance." Song Jinming took the phone and looked. His face turned pale. The photo was taken from an upper floor. Although it wasn't very clear, after zooming in, he could still see more than a dozen people lying scattered on the ground in front of the residential complex gate. And the clothes they were wearing were the Song family's thermal jackets. Then, Zhao Guanqing's phone also rang. He picked it up, glanced at it, and his expression changed. He silently handed it to Song Jinming. His friend had gotten closer to film. In the picture, every person on the ground was clearly visible. The man who died at the very front was Zhang Zhigao. Song Jinming's lips trembled. He had always thought all these people had betrayed him. In his rage, just now, he even had Li Mingbo kill their relatives. But all of them, all these subordinates had died while trying to find supplies. How? How could this be? Song Jinming muttered softly. So his subordinates hadn't betrayed him at all. They were just killed. And he didn't dare to look back at Li Mingbo's father, whom he had slaughtered in his rage. "Family head, how about I take the remaining brothers, and we go kill them?" Zhao Guanqing's face was filled with hatred. "My friend said these people are constantly recruiting followers, promising them supplies as long as they're loyal to their leader. The supplies they sell aren't too expensive either. A pack of instant noodles is only 100 yuan. But if this snow keeps up, everyone's savings will run out soon. That's why many people have eagerly signed up. If we don't act now, their team will only grow stronger and stronger." Them. Song Jinming frowned and shook his head. A look of disappointment flashed across Zhao Guanqing's face, but then he heard Song Jinming continue. "Do you have any idea how many of them there are? The men I sent, Su Zhe and Zhang Zhigao, only scouted 2 nearby residential areas. Who knows how many other complexes they've been trading with?" He understood the problem clearly. If the other side had massive amounts of supplies, they could use those supplies to recruit a large team in a very short time. Right now, they could only confirm this group's presence at Kaichi Gardens and Yuding Flower Residence, and that they had guns. But what about other areas? Were there more of their people there? If Song Jinming still had over 60 men under his command like before, he would have gone to rob them without a second thought. But now, he only had a dozen or so subordinates left. With such a small force, if he lost them, he'd have nothing. "Jinming, what should we do?" A look of anxiety appeared on Li Manchu's face. "Guagua hasn't eaten all day. He's been crying from hunger several times already." Her son was only 4 years old and didn't understand anything. He had been hungry for a long time. Li Manchu could only patiently coax him, but at this rate, it was hopeless. Forget a child, even she was starving. "Does anyone else have acquaintances in the northern district of the city?" Song Jinming took a deep breath and turned to ask everyone. "Everyone, call and ask about the situation in the northern residential areas. See if there are people selling supplies there too." Everyone immediately got busy making calls. A moment later, they gathered and began reporting to Song Jinming. Song Jinming's expression grew darker and darker. According to the information they gathered, every single residential complex in the northern part of the city that they knew of had teams selling supplies. Furthermore, the transactions had been going on since early morning and were still continuing. It was said that as long as people were in line, they could buy supplies. The goods were barely sold out before more snowmobiles loaded with supplies would arrive. In these areas, around the transaction points, there were young men with guns standing guard. The moment anyone tried to rush forward and snatch things or disrupt the transaction, these people would, without any hesitation, raise their guns and fire a volley of shots. There were even some residential areas where people had organized to rush them. But this armed group of men in white was far more numerous. From all directions, dozens of men with guns would suddenly appear, forming a line. Whether you were involved or not, if you got too close, you were killed. Their methods were extremely brutal. But soon, the residents in the area discovered that as long as they obediently lined up and bought supplies normally, the other party wouldn't interfere much. In fact, when people went to the lower floors of the buildings, away from the transaction point, and someone rushed up to rob those who had just bought supplies, the guards would see it but wouldn't intervene. It was as if their sole purpose was to ensure the smooth flow of the transactions. So many people. Song Jinming's eyes twitched. The subordinates reporting to him said that in nearly 10 residential complexes, the majority had their transaction points. How many supplies did they have? Where did they come from? More importantly, what did they need so much money for? After all, with the apocalypse upon them, everyone understood that the cash in their hands was no different from scrap paper. As for money in electronic bank accounts, it was just a string of numbers on a phone screen. On top of that, the government had made no moves, not a single announcement to this day, leaving the survivors in the city even more panicked and desperate. In this situation, they still wanted money? The whole world had practically stopped functioning. What was the use of demanding money? Song Jinming's brows were tightly furrowed. He wasn't too concerned with these questions. He just desperately craved revenge. I have a dozen or so men, a dozen or so guns. A single volley from the enemy would probably be enough to wipe us out completely. What should we do, Jinming? Seeing Song Jinming silent for a long time, Li Manchu grew a little anxious. She stepped forward, grabbed his arm, and said, "We have to think of something. Otherwise we." As Li Manchu pulled his arm, a stir went through Song Jinming's heart. Li Manchu's figure was especially beautiful, and the soft press of her body against his arm only fueled his desire. Li Manchu seemed not to notice and said, "You brought me here in such a hurry before. I don't know if the few packs of instant noodles I had at home are still there." Instant noodles? Song Jinming was startled. He turned to look at Zhao Guanqing. "By the way, you just told me how much they're selling a pack of instant noodles for." 100 yuan, Zhao Guanqing replied. "They even have mineral water. Family head, a bottle of water, a sausage, a lighter, and a piece of bread all cost 100 yuan. But from what I've seen, mineral water and instant noodles are the most popular." "Oh, right, they even have eggs. I have no idea where they're getting live chickens in this freezing weather." 100 yuan, 100 yuan. Song Jinming muttered a few times, then suddenly asked, "How much money do you all have on you?" "I have over 30,000 in my savings," Zhao Guanqing said embarrassedly. "I just bought a new car for my family a while back, so I don't have much cash left." "Jinming, are you planning to buy supplies from them?" Li Manchu suddenly realized. "That's right." Song Jinming narrowed his eyes and said, "According to the current information, only the residential areas in the northern part of the city have these transactions. In the eastern and western parts of the city, who knows how many people have starved to death in those complexes, and no one there has ever heard of anyone selling supplies. So, if other people can buy, why can't we? Give all your money to Zhao Guanqing. Guanqing, you take 3 men with you and go buy supplies," Song Jinming instructed. "Bring your guns. Since they welcome people to trade, then you guys go buy enough supplies first. We need to fill our stomachs before anything else." "Yes, sir." Zhao Guanqing nodded eagerly. He called 3 subordinates, and the 4 of them went downstairs together. This time, Zhao Guanqing kept his call with Song Jinming active the entire time. As the 4 of them went downstairs, they moved with extreme caution. 2 men back to back, one facing forward, and the other backing down the stairs while holding the handrail, his eyes glued to the rear. After all, Li Mingbo had lost contact with Song Jinming right after going downstairs. Song Jinming was worried that someone had secretly used a silenced gun to pick off Li Mingbo's group. Downstairs, Zhao Guanxing walked in the middle, with the other 3 men practically surrounding him, vigilantly watching 3 different directions. Even if the 3 of them had to die, they had to ensure Zhao Guanxing could get a message back. Song Jinming put the phone on speaker and set it on the table. From the phone, he could still hear the breathing of Zhao Guanxing's group. Furthermore, Zhao Guanxing would occasionally report on their situation, ensuring that he could report any abnormalities immediately. Family head, we've reached the 10th floor. Everything is fine. Family head, we're now on the 2nd floor. We're about to leave the building and head to Yuding Flower Residence. Hearing Zhao Guanxing's voice, Song Jinming remained silent. The others also gathered around him, listening intently. Shen Heng stood on the 16th floor, a cold smile on his face. He sent a text to Gui Yubing. Some people from the Song family will be coming to Yuding Flower Residence to buy supplies later. Just raise the price. Don't worry, no matter how expensive it is, they'll buy it. He couldn't just keep killing people. After all, if they were all dead, he wouldn't be able to get the money in their bank accounts. Let the Song family make one last contribution before they fall apart. Boss, I understand. Gui Yubing quickly replied. How about after they make the transaction, we? No need, Shen Heng replied with a smile. Yesterday, he had only taken the gold bars and cash Song Jinming had at the Song family building. But for a prestigious family like the Songs, the amount of money stored in the bank was surely much, much more. I have to clean out their entire fortune. Let them die with peace of mind. Family head, we've left the Song family building. Zhao Guanxing's voice came through. Song Jinming stood up and walked to the edge of the window, glancing down. He saw 4 people below waving up at him. All right, all of you, be careful, Song Jinming nodded. Zhao Guanxing and his 2 subordinates turned and headed straight for Yuding Flower Residence. Meanwhile, with the 21 charred corpses still in the lobby, Shen Heng, having heard that these men were going to make a transaction, had secretly snuck down and collected all the bodies into his consciousness space. The 4 of them were completely unaware. We'll continue the story. Song Jinming returned to the table and looked up at everyone. If Zhao Guanxing's transaction is successful this time, Cheng Yongbin, you take 3 brothers to Kaichi Gardens to trade. Then, Wang Shun, you take people to Hujin Mansion to trade. As long as they're willing to sell, you buy as much as you can. Understood? Yes, sir. Cheng Yongbin and Wang Shun quickly stood up and nodded respectfully to Song Jinming. We must buy enough supplies, then find and steal a few snowmobiles. We'll head to the University City district in the east and south of the city and lay low there to develop quietly. Song Jinming gave his orders. In the University City area, it's mostly college students. There's plenty of housing, so we can easily find a place to stay. Moreover, with the supplies we bring, we can also recruit college students as our subordinates. These spirited young men will be our main force in the future. Besides, we're being watched by someone now. I don't know who it is, but there's definitely someone watching us from the shadows, Song Jinming said in a low voice. It's probably from the shelter. After all, we clashed with people from the shelter when we robbed the grain depot, and we even killed them. The break-in yesterday was probably also the shelter's doing. In that case, let's just avoid them for now. The shelter is in the west of the city. Right now, the city area is no longer safe. The east and south are our best options. University City is the best place to hide. Yes, sir. The 10 remaining subordinates all nodded in agreement. At critical moments, it was still the family head who could make the decisions. He could make the optimal judgment and lead them out of this predicament. Li Manchu was also clearly captivated by Song Jinming's charisma. She gave him a satisfied glance, but then something occurred to her. She glanced around and then said to Song Jinming, Jinming, come outside for a moment. I have something to talk to you about in private. She swayed her hips. She turned and walked out. Song Jinming instinctively watched her hips. Just as he stood up to leave, he turned and instructed, You guys pay attention to the phone. Don't make a sound. Just listen for Zhao Guanxing's all-clear voice, understand? Understood, family head. Zhao Guanxing on the other end of the line also said softly, Family head, we're about to reach Yuding Flower Residence. Everything is safe for now. Song Jinming nodded and walked out with Li Manchu. At a corner of the hallway, Li Manchu glanced around. After confirming no one was nearby, she said softly, "Jinming, you're going to have to buy quite a lot of supplies, right? After all, feeding so many people, and then going to the university city to recruit subordinates. You can't do that with just a small amount of supplies." "That's right," Song Jinming replied. "The cash and gold bars from the Song family all disappeared without a trace yesterday. All I have left is the money in my bank account. But I plan to convert all of it into supplies. Aren't they willing to sell as much as we want? I have 2 billion in my card. I'll buy it all. Let's see if you have that much stock." Of course, to avoid attracting attention, his plan was to have his subordinates spread out and buy from different residential areas, not just relentlessly drain one complex. He even wanted to ask the relatives of his subordinates to help buy things. He just needed to treat them to a hearty meal, and they would surely be happy to help. Only then could they quickly acquire the supplies, steal a few more snowmobiles, and head to the university city under the cover of night. "I still have over 10 million. Li Manchu held up her phone and handed it to Song Jinming. "Sister-in-law you." Song Jinming was stunned. "Jinming, your brother Peng left Jiang City and asked you to take care of me and my son. Now that the Song family is in trouble, I should contribute too." Li Manchu leaned close to Song Jinming's ear and whispered, "Only a strong Song family can truly protect us." Even though she hadn't bathed in days, there was no strange smell on Li Manchu. Instead, there was a faint, milky fragrance. Song Jinming hadn't touched a woman in days. Smelling her scent now, he unconsciously turned his head and sniffed close to her ear. "You? What are you doing?" Li Manchu's face immediately turned crimson. "Sister-in-law, you smell so good," Song Jinming purred. "Are you trying to take advantage of your sister-in-law?" Li Manchu didn't get angry. Her almond-shaped eyes gazed at Song Jinming. A jolt went through him, and he almost kissed her on the cheek. After the kiss, he suddenly realized what he'd done and said embarrassedly, "Sorry, sister-in-law. I lost control for a moment." And then, just a kiss on the cheek. Li Manchu's reaction stunned Song Jinming. "The great head of the Song family, is this all you've got?" Song Jinming was startled, then a look of joy spread across his face. This was clearly a tease. He immediately pulled Li Manchu into a tight embrace and kissed her on the lips. Li Manchu also turned her head and responded passionately, "If only I'd known sister-in-law was this easy, I wouldn't have waited so long. I could have had her on the very first day I brought her back." Li Manchu understood the situation very clearly in her heart. Wang Peng had left Jiang City. Although they still kept in touch, he could only check in by phone. As for when he would return or where he had gone, even Wang Peng himself didn't know. Right now, the only person she could rely on was Song Jinming. The other women were either old ladies of the Song family or the direct relatives of the subordinates. Only she and Guagua were outsiders. Song Jinming was close with Wang Peng and usually treated me with respect. But what if danger strikes? Would he abandon me? She had to consider this problem. Giving money to Song Jinming wasn't enough. She had to form a deeper bond with him. She was still very confident in her looks. Besides, Song Jinming was under high pressure every day. A woman like me could help him relax a bit. Becoming Song Jinming's woman, he would surely not abandon me. As for the future, we can talk about it if we survive. The two kissed passionately, completely unaware that on the other side of the hallway, Shen Hong had quietly appeared, holding his phone and recording their intimate scene. After a while, Li Manchu realized Song Jinming's hands were getting restless. She pushed him away, her almond eyes giving him a playful glare. "What's the rush? Once we're settled, I'll be yours sooner or later." Right. The most urgent thing is to get the supplies first." Song Jinming nodded repeatedly. Seeing the two stop, Shen Hong quietly hid behind the wall and put his phone away. Just then, someone came to the hallway and shouted, "Family head, Zhao Guanqing's group has reached Yuding Flower Residence." Song Jinming answered and walked back toward the office. Li Manchu also wiped her mouth and casually followed behind him, as if the two had just been discussing private matters. As soon as they returned to the office, they heard Zhao Guanqing's indignant voice from the speakerphone on the table. "What did you say? 1,000 yuan for a pack of instant noodles. Wasn't it 100 yuan? Why did the price go up when it's our turn?" 8,000. Song Jinming's face changed. He strode quickly to the table. Another lazy voice came from the phone. You're asking for so many things. We have to make a special delivery. Besides, I saw you just now. You're not from this complex, are you? People from outside who come to buy supplies, it's all this price. Take it or leave it. You, Zhao Guanqing looked at the group of young men holding guns in front of him and finally gritted his teeth. Wait a minute. We need to discuss this. Hurry up. Don't waste time. The other party seemed to not even bother with him, turning to chat with the person next to him. Zhao Guanqing walked to the side and only then picked up his phone to report softly, "Family head, as soon as we entered the complex, we were spotted by the armed men. They asked what we wanted. I said we were buying supplies. They said all outsiders have to pay 10 times the price. 8,000. Song Zhiming frowned slightly. A case of instant noodles would be over 20,000? What the hell is this? But at this point, he couldn't be bothered anymore. As long as he could buy a large amount of supplies, it was enough. I still have over 2 billion in my card. Buy it, Song Zhiming said, his face cold as ice, gritting his teeth. No matter how much it costs, convert all the money into supplies. Yes, sir. Zhao Guanqing replied hastily. He then went to the transaction point and said, Brother, 10 times the price, right? We'll buy it.